It's no good. It's no good. We'll just throw it out and do another take. 4 hours from now. No, I'm kidding.
Don't do that.
We would not record for 4 hours and then throw it away. I would definitely release it mostly unedited and just be like, I don't know what happened. Hi guys, welcome to What's Up. In case you are somehow seeing this for the first time, I'm Omega, he's Lucky. We talk about stuff.
You'd be surprised how many people still get us mixed up.
I don't know if that's intentional or not, but yes, people get us goofed all the time. They say it's because we talk in the third person, but we both talk in the third person, so is that actually the problem? I also don't think we actually talk in the third person that much.
Well, I definitely talk more in the third person more than you do.
Yes. I occasionally do it, but usually that's a deliberate choice.
Yeah.
I don't know if you make deliberate choices in life, Lucky. Sometimes I feel like you're just doing whatever Lucky thinks he should do right now.
That's how Lucky likes to do.
Okay. Let me check about 50 seconds. Minutes, sorry. God, wow, where am I today?
Not here.
Well, yeah, that's true. Before we started, I powered through the last couple maps I had of the story in Arknights, so that was very brain usagey. Required a lot of RAM. Okay. I want to remind everybody that this episode is brought to you by our patrons like Adam DeHarp, Ahanga Comics, Architect 10, Blacklist OG, Carlos Quad, Jeremy Vasquez, Kylie Denton, Legendary Boss Hunter, Liam Kessler, Rob Robin, Shiny Peace, I'm getting Bob, Soda Soda, 21st, Side 53, and Zach Reed. And if you like what we do and want to see us do more, consider supporting the Patreon. You get access to episodes early and lots of other goodies, and it really helps us out.
Thank you.
He did the click at the right time this time.
Yeah.
Now, see, that I was reading from a cue card, basically, so I could do it without my brain locking up. But okay, guys, hi. Welcome to What's Up. What are we talking about? We don't even know.
I don't even fucking know.
And by the way, we are well past a minute, so you can say fucking.
I will say fucking. I'll say fuck a lot. So, I don't know. We usually go through a lot of things here. Go through medias. We go through games. Sometimes we talk about current events, but we usually don't like to because here at Studio Omega, we enjoy that non-complicated life. And anytime you start involving real-world events, shit gets weird. So that being said, if you came here to hear us talk about election results or anything like that, talk political or anything, you are probably in the wrong place.
Yeah, we've discussed this before a couple of times with some other big stuff where we have political opinions. Mm-hmm. We're not afraid to share our broad opinions.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, just in general, and I know some people talk about this, like, oh, you should use your voice more, talk to people. I'm like, Yes, we are here to talk about our thoughts and feelings on What's Up, but I don't know if that's what people are coming to us for, the content.
And honestly, I feel like this is a personal view here, but I feel there's really literally no reason to discuss politics, especially with someone who has an opposing view, especially because usually the point of an argument is to try and change someone's mind, and I have realized in politics usually that's not impossible. So I'm just like, yeah, no. So usually you just got two people who are usually yelling at each other, increasing in volume, and then it starts involving other people, and no one walks away happy. So, no. Not doing that.
So, clearly we should talk about Arknights first.
Yes!
Nobody walks away happy. But, yeah. I mean, we could start there if you want to open up on that one.
Yeah, we can start with gacha. So you said you finished the story, right?
Yes, I finished the story.
What did you think about it? I know
there's bonus story and the other stuff. I don't know if we're going to get to that. That's a whole nother thing.
It's hard.
Like, doing one of them with, like, no towers and six guys. Oh, no, I don't know. Honestly, it was... Twilight of Woman was pretty much, I think, typical for an Arknights story. I don't think there's been a solid Arknights which has ended maybe as positively as Obsidian Festival, which, for an Arknights story, was remarkably well wrapped up.
I don't know. I think I'd say Code of Brawl ended up pretty positive.
That's true. Ultimately, Code of Brawl turns out positive because there's some bamboozlement in there.
There's some bamboozlement, but
yes,
like I
would say Code of Brawl and Obsidian Festival are both relatively lighthearted, I want to say.
Yeah.
Like, both of those end up with not a lot of people you care about are dead. Mm. There's not a lot of like innocent casualties. The city didn't explode. Stuff like that, right?
Right.
You know, there's an absence of the stuff that's constantly happening in the main story, and admittedly, I haven't gone through, like, I'm still on 5.1. I said this off mic, I need to take some time now and work on it. It'll be a little bit harder, because now Arknights is on my PC. I think I mentioned this on Let's Stick FGO. But if I didn't, the latest FGO update was the final bullet. It needed way too much space, and then I could not install Arknights, because it also needed way too much space. Phone games, why you need so much space? Stop it.
You're gonna fucking die when the fucking Valentine's comes out. They're gonna need all that space for voice lines.
Well, yeah, hopefully I can do something, but that's also so close. I don't know. I don't know what we do in that case. Do I put FGO on my phone? I know it doesn't like emulators. I don't want to... That's a whole nother thing, but again, seriously, people, fucking stop. Stop. You're killing us. I'm literally... I can only put so much storage space on my phone. It's, it's like the PS5 thing, where, like, the SSD's only got, like, 600 gigs, because it needs, like, 200 of them for the operating system. Anyway. Lots of people positive, by the way, about the PS5.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, Axe, it's called the operating system. I don't know how you missed this. Axe keeps bugging me about the storage space. The phone has 8 gigs. The fucking OS uses 4. Do you people not understand how phones work? Your phone storage is a lie. I think this was definitely a What's Up topic in the past.
About you've yelled about this.
Yeah, storage is a lie. Like, no, I've definitely minced words on this, where, like, it's a whole thing. Like, your phone says it has 8. Well, I mean, also, it lies to me about how much fucking space it needs, right? It'll tell me you've got 150 megabytes free, and the download's only 30 megabytes, but then it's like, hey, you actually need 200 megabytes and more of free space, so I don't really understand how the phone... I think I've talked about this before, also. I don't really understand how the phone prioritizes how much space it needs for what, right?
Device care, that's what I'm looking for.
But yeah, no, like, it's definitely got its own pluses and minuses. But yeah, no, literally, my last phone fucking exploded. Not literally, but the battery was kind of swollen, so something probably did happen to it. It was probably, like, crushing a bag because of travel and shit. I should
actually, let's see here.
Cram my life into backpacks less, but unfortunately, I still live at home, and so when your parents are like, you're going to Christmas and you can't do anything about it, you're like, okay, I gotta pack all my life into a bag and take it with me. Squish my phone. But yeah, so it was a cheap and quick replacement, and so I had to work some stuff. That said, I think now that I removed Arknights, I have like 2 gigs free. So, depending on how much space FGO needs in the Valentine's update, I might be okay. Or I might die inside, because the constantly tech aggravating thing goes on, and I joke about people not paying me enough to buy me a new phone. That's okay. Like I said, I can probably... That's a few months away. We can probably invest in something new by then. I hope.
Yeah. By the way, Lucky's phone is normally has 64 gigs, but I'm using 50 of it for something. I'm trying to figure out what. I'm like, wait a minute here.
Actually, that is a good question. Yeah, what are you using all that space for?
Yeah, let's see.
Do you have too many multiple copies of gacha games installed on there? Because I know you double platform sometimes, but you also have a tablet.
No, my tablet bricked. Well, it didn't brick, but something went wrong with the screen, and so it does weird line things. So I had to yeetus that. So
that happens. I had I had a good tablet. It didn't run FGO because FGO is not optimized for tablets. But
let's see here. Honestly, I should probably... no. But I feel kinship with this game. And actually, I don't think they actually take up that much space, because I have 8 games on my phone. I have Destiny Child, Arknights, Azure Lane, Corruption of Champions 2, Corruption of Champions, Fate, Girls Frontline, and Trials and Tainted Space on my phone. It's a lot of games. Also, apparently I have... Oh, that's right, because I downloaded a bunch of fucking audiobooks and just put them on my fucking phone.
Yeah, that's another one of those weird things.
Actually, where's my
I know, obviously, you go to work with your phone, so that makes sense for you to put stuff there, but it's definitely one of those weird things where, like, podcasts and audiobooks really change somewhere, and I never moved on, and I don't like it, where it was like, oh, you can put shit on your phone. Oh, you can use a service to put it on your phone. I'm like, why would I do that? Why would I put shit on my phone? Like, obviously, if I'm going to work, sure, I gotta secure the phone anyway, but, like, I don't go anywhere outside much, especially now. And I would much prefer something lighter and more comfortable to carry, like an MP3 player, which I do still own standalone. It's got storage space. And like, why would I want to suck up space on phones with audiobooks? Because I know that audio can get pretty big.
Well, honestly, I feel like if you had a phone with enough space, you'd be more inclined to do it.
Maybe I just need... It's one of those things where you don't know how good it is until you splurge.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I got myself a nicer PC, and it's just, how relaxing is it that stuff just works faster now?
Yeah, like, how would you feel going back to, like, an older model PC?
I don't know. I think I got to boot up my old one, because I think I still got some of my video files on it I need to move off, but that's a different question. No, I would not... I would not want to go back to, like, 6 to 8 hour rendering times for videos and stuff. And not being able to play most games. Like, the only thing that fucks me now is this machine doesn't have a standalone video card, which someday I will fix. That's a project for next year. I'll put an actual video card processor in here so that it stops freaking out, because that does... I don't know if it... Like, for a lot of games, I don't know if that actually causes a problem, especially for those that are graphically intense, but it does freak them out a lot. It's like, whoa, dude, you know you don't have a real video card in here, right? And I'm like, yeah, I know. I've also got a shitload of RAM and other stuff. Like, I have not like super beef, but this thing's meant to be a work machine. So, like, it's got a decent amount of RAM. We talked about my specs and stuff before. It's decently good at processing and rendering and stuff. Just sometimes the graphical tracking, the computers are like, what's up? I don't know. What's going on?
Lucky is just digging through like his phone to find old things, and I'm just finding shit that I don't fucking remember. Here, have a fucking TO. And wait, actually, no, I have to copy to my computer first. There we go. And then
that's definitely a thing where, like, I don't...
That's just on my phone. And guess what? It's staying there. I fucking love TO.
But no, that's definitely a thing I've done in the past, digging through stuff, and now I'm just like, I don't got enough space. Anyway, we got derailed there with me needing to buy a new phone at some point and figure that out. Which I'm not super thrilled about.
Yeah. Apparently, in my Samsung Flow folder, there is 3.35 gigs of just audiobooks just hanging out there. Oh, wait, no, I haven't finished spending silver. I will leave that one in there.
But you can eat some of those.
So I'm going to eat some of these.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's still... I guess to me, portable devices have always had so little storage, whereas SD cards are big. But I got fucked because my current... It's not a universal feature of... I'm pretty sure I got a Samsung. I don't remember that model number. It wasn't like something high-end, but I got fucked over that only some Android phones and some Samsung phones let you use SD cards as straight-up system storage rather than file storage. Which I guess technically means that if I was willing to, like, do a lot of shuffling, I could probably, like, download audiobooks onto my phone into my, like, 32 gig or whatever card. But yeah, that's another problem I had where I got a new phone. It was like, oh, for no reason at all, this isn't a universal feature, so, and there was probably no good way to tell that it didn't do that before you bought it, and I got fucked out of a lot of storage space, so. Because my last phone did do that. It did let me, directly use, format my SD card as internal memory, basically, and install apps directly, and it was like, oh yeah, no, this is great, I got all kinds of space for shit. Like, some apps won't go on there, but it worked for, I think, like, FGO did do that and lots of other stuff, and it just kind of didn't. Ooh, yeah, no, that is not a brick, but that is a garble. That's
what we like to call in the business a bork.
That is borked, yep. You could probably get somebody to fix that, but I don't know.
It's like an S3. It's super old. I do want to save a picture of this magnifying glass because I fucking might write Amelia Watson a fucking fan letter, and I'm gonna put a picture of this, because this magnifying glass made me think of her. Lucky finds cool shit at work occasionally, and he found... Let me post a picture, wait, of this. And I found this sweet... Actually, I think I mentioned this yesterday, but I found this sweet vintage, the sweet vintage brass magnifying glass. I was like, yeah! And I was super cool, and I was like, magnifying glass. And of course, I'm thinking of Hollow Ivy and Amelia Watson. I'm like, I should totally send this to her, but...
hey, I don't know right now, but apparently Amazon Fire HD tablets are down to $80.
Ooh.
32 gigabyte version. Because I don't know if I really need a tablet, but I do have that in my list. I don't even know where I'd get a good phone. Probably Samsung, just because I've had good experiences with them. But I don't know. What are Google Pixels like too?
I have a Samsung S9, and I haven't had any complaints about it. Lucky got one when they first came out, because I'm like, all right, I'm getting me a phone that I can use for maybe like the next 4 years and not have to fucking worry about it. That's the problem. If you only do incremental upgrades with phones, you're gonna be constantly fucking behind. You have to do the big upgrades and then ride that wave.
Yeah, I can see how that's a big upgrade. That is a spicy price number on that phone.
Yeah, it is.
On the other hand, the 64 gigs is good. I don't know. We'll have to see where I'm... Like I said, that's a next year me problem. Man, we got really derailed from Arknights. We'll circle back, but there is one more thing talking about this year that I want to talk about, because I was just in my Amazon orders, because somehow, for some reason, my Amazon goes there first instead of my wish list these days. It's almost like I'm ordering shit. I pulled it right up to the first thing. But Amazon has actually put a date on my PS5. Ooh. So it says it's arriving Thursday by 8 p.m., so they might actually have found... They might have actually found my pre-order, and I will get it on time. We'll see.
That's a little terrifying.
That was a little weird, because I don't think I was in the super urgency list, and also they were like, we don't know if this is going to actually get to you on time. And now it's just quietly, without sending many updates, it's like, yeah, no, this will arrive on a Thursday.
Nobody panic.
Is Thursday the 12th the official? Yeah, I think it is. The 12th is the actual release date, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I should probably do. Yeah,
I would love to be like super cool and like high level, and people just send you free shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I hope if you're a high level influencer or creator or whatever, and like Samsung's sending you, obviously not free because you got to do ad copy or whatever, but if they're sending you like, new gaming phones or like PS5s you can unbox, like I hope y'all appreciate that and don't ever take that shit for granted, because that'd be cool for people to just be like, oh hey. People listen to you. Here, have a product. Talk about it. Okay, sure, I will. I love free stuff. I'll talk about it. Because a lot of people have been giving the PS5 a lot of big reviews. It's quiet. Load times are fast. A lot of people are saying the controller is really good. The new DualSense.
Is anyone talking about the Xbox one?
I don't think anybody's had anything to say about the Xbox controller, specifically. I think, in general, people have been saying, like, the full version runs okay. There's been some talks about the S. How powerful is it? How much can it actually store? Like, it might actually be a little too softball of a console. But we'll see when it comes out. I don't actually know if they've really done anything. Like, that is definitely something I feel like PlayStation does, is like they try new stuff with the controllers and like streamlining them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we had 6-axis and then they were like, it wasn't quite perfect. Let's do DualShock 3. And then DualShock 4s, which are pretty good. And then, DualSense, dude. Which a lot of people are raving about. I'm sure if mine does actually arrive on time, I will also have stuff to say about it.
Yeah,
they're saying that the Xbox controller is basically the same, just, little updates. I know that Xbox has their Elite controllers thing as their kind of niche. Like, if you want to spend a lot of money to upgrade, you can get a very customized high-spec controller, which sounds cool, but is also very expensive. Okay, so we were talking about the Arknights story, though.
Yes.
And yeah, because we were talking about not everybody being happy. And so, yeah, in general, Arknights they definitely tend for that sadder, lower down kind of tone. And this one is kind of like that. Like, there's a positive outcome at the end. And this, obviously, there's secret story bullshit, which I really wish they would stop doing. Stop making me work hard for a story. I can't do it. I can't. You take too much. To talk about how resource intense Arknights is, for some of those final maps, my Ea Fiala was Elite 1, right? Elite 1, Level 1. I was like, I need some extra arts juice. Ea Fiala's good, right? I'm gonna raise her. I think I spent literally all of my good XPs and most of my stockpiled LMD, because I haven't been doing anything with it for like a month, to get her to 80, and I'm like, out. All of it's gone. In 1 6-star to Elite 180. Which would also be maybe 2 lower levels to like that level. Like, it's the exchange rate is still not super good. So like it's hard to like. I appreciate. I think we talked about this before. I appreciate there are a lot of different units that do lots of different things. Even in doing these maps, I was actually trying new stuff and doing new things. Like for 7, there was a big long corridor, and even though like videos and stuff weren't recommending, I'm like, you know what can go here? Fire Daughter.
Mm-hmm.
There's a straight 4 line of all 4 tiles. I know the enemy's gonna walk into like idiots. I'm gonna set them on fire now.
Yeah,
and it worked. I beat that map. So like, I love the variety, but god damn, does it make it hard to like keep everybody up, especially when some of these event stuffs they start lowball and then they're just like, oh yeah, no, our advisement level for this final map is Elite 2. Have everybody be Elite 2 and you'll be fine. And like, that would be really hard. I don't have 12 Elite 2s yet. I have a few. There's definitely like, there's a little bit of I think Girls Frontline had the same problem, where there's a little bit of disconnect between difficulty level to story rewards, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe some of this is a personal thing. I really don't want to be quote-unquote rewarded with completing the story by defeating, like, high-level challenge maps and stuff. I don't want that. That doesn't feel like a reward to me. That feels like you're punishing me for wanting to get the story.
Yeah, no, I'm in that same boat.
Like, for doing challenge maps, that should be worth, like, prime, big event store points, you know, like, that not necessarily needed stuff, but that extra click to be like, yeah, you did that. Or even better, purely cosmetic vanity items, just so you can show off how big your ego is. Because I know that's why some people I know do challenge maps and stuff in Arknights. That's people plural. So if you feel personally attacked right now, it's not actually a personal attack. This is an AoE.
Yeah, but you're still attacked. Just saying.
That's fair. Yes, I am attacking right now. I have interesting relationship with people who try really hard at video games.
Yeah.
Sometimes I try really hard also, sometimes I don't. And sometimes people bother me with how hard they try and how they make it sound like they're fucking heroes for being so tryhard. I'm like, no, don't do that, please.
Nah.
But yeah, so, like, I think I started out, it was a couple weeks ago, I think, actually, because I was talking about how I've been going through the storage dance and the time dance. I was like, I hope Dr. Atro's not dead, but this is Arknights, so I expect she is. So yeah, she probably is dead. Probably. Maybe. The fact that I don't know the true secret double golden ending leaves it open to interpretation. Like, I feel like Folnick would know, but also, spoilers, by the way, if you're somehow, there's 3 days left and you're somehow not caught up on the main story maps, the first 8, with the 2 cutscenes at the front and the back. But somehow one of the guys in the fire did survive and was misidentified, so question marks? But still, yeah, it's like, nah, that's Arknights. And this was actually really interesting. Like, this definitely had some themes that I don't think Arknights always touches on. Like, it was kind of interesting to see the reunion guys, the Sarkaz guys, though, Mudrock Squad did kind of seem like they were not hardliners for reunion.
No, I feel like they were in the same line as Big Bob.
Yeah, like, they were infected who...
they're not happy with the world, but they're not going to try and burn it down.
Yeah, like, they're infected, they didn't have any job, especially if you're Sarkaz, you don't have a lot of job prospects, right? So you fall in with Reunion because they're the only game in town, as it were, but they're not like, oh my
They're not monolithic.
It's been so long since I've seen the story, I'm trying to remember her name. What's the head of Reunion lady's name?
It's like Talalutha or something.
Tallulah, that's right.
There it is.
Yeah, I'm like, gosh, it has been so long since I've seen her in story. Yeah, like she feels she's got an ideology. She's got something going on. Meanwhile, we know that W is a mercenary because she'll be playable later, much like Mudrock. That's super cool.
Again, I'm laughing. I'm eternally laughing that right now Mudrock is age unknown, gender unknown. I'm all like, liars.
Yeah, I love how that when Mudrock appears, they're like age and gender and capabilities unknown. I'm like, I know. But yeah, that's just the funny way it works out. But also, like I was saying, there's some members that like that little fuckboy Mephisto, who's like clearly in it just for his own sick, twisted game. Some of them have ideology. Like, some of them are out for a purpose. Like, I think the Frost guys, the Yeti Squadron, are like there because of reasons, like ideological reasons. But some people are just here to watch the world burn. And so, Reunion are kind of the bad guys, but kind of not. And ultimately, I think a lot of the big story bullet points in this story are just, there's a lot of almost nihilism. There's almost a lot of, like, a heavy focus on the fact that a lot of this doesn't actually matter. Like, I feel bad for Folnick. Her desire for answers, because we get a lot of her backstory. Like, she has flashbacks and shit, like, talking about how her parents disappeared and whatever, and Dr. Calcit took her in, basically, out of college. And also how terrifying she is when she gets going. As that one poor schmuck found out, where she's, like, shooting him up with drugs. Do you remember that cutscene, Lucky? Like, this guy's invading the square, and she's just like, hey, you're still pretty mouthy for how many hallucinogens I've shot you up with. And he's like, you're a doctor? And she's like, yeah, I'm a doctor. But, like, because of her backstory and her situation, she's got a big boner for the truth, basically. Like, she really wants answers and, like, justification for stuff. And ultimately, it doesn't really come. Like, there's in this story, there's no, like, there is a true ending, obviously, but that's a lot of work. And the main crux of the story is, it ends with, well, we don't really know. Like,
how like life? Like,
the suzerain is like, okay, so we have questions about Biederman, but based on the evidence, it was still Biederman, so we're gonna say that. And you know, Folnick and even Greythroat are still kind of like, it doesn't feel right not knowing. That said, though, it was also interesting to see, like, Greythroat noted that, like, Folnick was, like, quite pleased when he was dead. Now he's dead? Ha, sucks for him. But, like, her quest for answers and for revenge never goes anywhere. The reunion guys don't really get anything out of it other than just like it's a little. I feel like there's some interpretation there, like it's not really stated, but I feel like what Mudrock and her guys were going for at the end was like, all right, motherfuckers, we didn't start this. We need you to cut this shit out because you're putting our name in your mouths, kind of thing, and we're not about this.
I think I kind of feel like what they were trying to do is they're trying to tell these people to nut up or shut up.
Yeah, that's another way. Is like if you're being serious, if you're reunion now, you got to do reunion stuff. So you guys either need to be real or you need to like fuck off.
Because this event really did like highlight, fucking what's the way to put it? Fucking rioter mentality, I guess.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's a lot of the mob mentality. Like
mob
once
mentality,
these people got going, wow, that's a setup.
Nice.
But the more people got going and kept going, it like just didn't end. And there's like an ultimate question where like the suzerain's like at some point he's like, the truth doesn't matter. These guys don't want to hear the truth. They're just here to fuck shit up, and they won't stop. And at one point he's like, he's willing to sacrifice himself to give them the satisfaction they need to calm the fuck down.
Mm-hmm.
And then suzerain is like, nah,
I'm the doctor. Stay down. Yeah, no, but like honestly, I found it like the writing was like overall real good. It's like like I said, just the relations between the infected and the regular people, how the infected were justifiably upset, but how the standard civilians weren't wrong in their way either. It was a story where no one was exactly right, but no one was wrong either. And
nobody at their core, nobody was 100% wrong.
Shoot, you can even say something to Biederman for starting the fire. It's like
which is by the way, that was a really interesting meta plot there that Ackerman brought up, where like, so inside the catastrophe messengers and contingency contract, there's like this really hardcore group who is like, they see catastrophes as their enemy, so they fight them in like this really weird esoteric way. And I'm like, that's good world building. Also means that, makes contingency contracts kind of more sinister.
Mm-hmm.
But like, that opens up that question of like, well, so after the thing went wrong, they were in trouble, that's kind of what starts a bit. Also, I almost feel like there were some points when we could have calmed everybody down and this could have been resolved easily. Like, like if the suzerain could have gotten the council people or whatever to like, just to also nut up and just be like, hey, we're in a bad way because of the thing. We need to come together and work on some stuff. And like, it may be possible that there will be casualties, but we can all come out through this okay. I don't want any, muss or fuss or anything. We have bigger shit to do, basically. But no, they didn't want to do that because they didn't want to cause a panic, but then people caused a panic anyway. Whether that was Biederman caused a panic.
Something stupid nobles doing stupid things.
I mean, yeah, but at the same, like, okay, so those off-screen nobles are off-screen and they sound like assholes, but also we don't ever see them, so I feel like it's really hard to come down too harshly on them. Like, okay, yes, they pulled everybody's gendarmes away because they're doing like a high-level society wedding. Okay, that's a little dumb. That's, very dick measure.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, would their response have been like, what would have happened differently if their gendarmes were actually there?
Well, they'd have more people for investigations. They'd have more people to maintain public order. They'd have more people to basically go out and maybe do stuff. You're gonna be there's a lot of people you can do with just when you have more trained bodies.
It's true. There are some things, but also then, then they would have had more force on the floor. Would they have responded more forcefully to people?
Well, if all the jobs aren't here, people probably might not quite as much hard as causing the fucking ruckus.
And that I don't know about, because there was a very deliberate attempt to pull off the ruckus. Though also, I also gotta be honest, there's a lot of this deep conspiracy shit, like, who the fuck knows? Maybe the gendarmes were, like, pulled away deliberately, even though that seems kind of weird. We don't know. There's a lot of these weird stuff. Like, the quote-unquote nobles seem like they're not doing anything, but obviously, at the very least, there must be some purpose they serve society, or in the world of Arknights, somebody would have ate them already. Like it's definitely one of those things. And at the very least, the society in Lethia, which I took to be like Switzerland, Central Europe kind of thing, is they even admitted that they are more pro-arts and more lenient on the infected than other places. Like, compare them to Ursus. Sorry, I had to remember my names. I was gonna say Chernobog, but that was just one city. But Ursus in general, where, like, yeah, no, infected are, like, you know, fucking gulagged and stuff. Or even Lungmen, you know, where, as far as we can see, the infected are in basically slum living. Like, yeah, the infected districts in Womund seemed kind of, like, run down, but they still, at least the way the architecture looked in the screen grabs, like, they still look like some of these were, like, nice places, and, you know.
From what I understand, like, apparently Woodland had been stuck where they were for a while, so they weren't getting supplies and stuff, so things were starting to fall into disrepair.
Yeah, basically, their problems were because of the catastrophe, and then which meant that their mobile city got trapped up, basically.
Yeah.
That there was some originum involved, so there was probably a slight rise in infection cases in orthopathy. And they were in a bad way, and then they were in a worse way when, for some reason, the rioters blew up their fucking engines.
Yeah.
But I will say, there's definitely one other thing besides just the kind of, like, the feeling of just, like, there's no answer here kind of feeling. There was also, God, was there a lot of, what do we even want to call it? Like, malapropism, misblaming, displacement, like, I'm even some places I would go so far as to say false flagging. Like, nobody was really taking responsibility for anything here, right?
No.
Like people were like, it's those dirty nobles and the dumb gendarmes being gone, which is why we're rioting. And it's like, no, they're, like, maybe them being gone, like Lucky said, gave you the willingness to riot, but that's not why you're rioting. You're rioting because of your own reasons. Some people are like, yeah, we're the winter wisps, which was an interesting kind of plotting going on. But then you find out, no, you're not. Like, yes and no. In a sense, everybody in this city is a winter wisp because the two populations came together.
Mm-hmm.
But you guys are reviving your old name so you can sound cooler or be taken more seriously. Even in the end, when they're like, oh yeah, Reunion is here. We're Reunion now. We're going to take over the city. And I don't know if that's maybe some story bits I haven't got to yet in the main story, but I'm like, do these guys not know what happens when Reunion takes a city? Like, I don't know, maybe the first couple chapters of this game are still burned into my mind, but I wouldn't, even for the infected, I would not call Chernobog a good time. Like, okay, yes, you guys got your vengeance on the city that was really shitty to you, but that city is still, like, super destroyed, and lots of people on all stripes died.
Well, again, that's that whole, you know, hate and revenge.
Yeah, the cycle of revenge is a thing.
Like I said, when people, like, that's something you definitely say about, like, these kind of stories is, like, once that ball of revenge, like, starts going, it doesn't stop, and it doesn't have breaks.
It takes a lot of effort to break the cycle of revenge.
Yeah.
Which is why that's such a big deal in a lot of stories. And I know I'll sidle up here with a complete side blast, but I know this is why some people don't like the end of Naruto, but it's actually why I like it, because the point of that story is that our protagonist goes to great lengths to break the cycle of revenge. Which, if you actually pay attention to that story, there's a whole lot of cycles going on. Like,
oh yeah,
it's just layer after layer of conflict of like, almost Hegelian dialectics. Like, you know, how does that go?
I don't know.
Basically, there's the two parts that oppose conflict, and either one wins out and takes over, or you get synthesis. They come together. But, like, that's every conflict in that series is just, like, it goes back another generation. Like, the Uchiha and the first Hokage's clans fought, and then they came together, but then they still had a fight that, like, turned into a whole generational thing. They turned into another generational thing, like, and it's just like that for everybody.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, this story definitely does not glorify revenge.
No. No one was happy.
Like it goes to several points to point out that while she's not crazy, the fact that Folnik desires revenge and is thinking about it is, like, distracting her and making her more dangerous to the people around her, basically.
Yes.
And in the end, she doesn't really get satisfaction out of it. I mean, I think she gets a little bit of satisfaction when she hears Biederman's dead, but that's it. And even at the end, she can't be, because she has that conversation with, like, Tatiana. Great character, by the way. Love Tatiana.
Mm-hmm.
Glad she made it out in one piece. I wouldn't say she's okay, but she lived. There were a couple times when I thought we were going to punch that ticket.
Tatiana, like, started this story not okay, and she only got worse, but she lived.
Mm-hmm. And hypothetically, she should be able to work it through.
Hopefully.
And the Suzerain's another great character. I like Severin, like, as a character.
Mm-hmm.
Like he makes some choices that maybe you don't like. But he's the sheriff mayor of the town. So, like, he's playing real politic right now, basically.
I like how he's playing. He's playing both soldier and mayor, and he's basically that person that says, like, I don't like what I have to do, but someone has to fucking do it.
Right, and there's several times when like, Rhodes Island comes back and it's like, yo, dog, you lied to us, and he's like, you're goddamned right I did. And I do it again, because now I know I can trust you.
Also, he's also like, I think at some point he's all like, you would have done the same, and they're like, maybe. Though
I appreciate that, in general, I still like that, while not always practical, ultimately Rhodes Island, it's their fault for being so weird. The Rhodes Island is ultimately a optimistic, forward-thinking organization. Like, they're not, and even they do this where, like at some points, Volnik is like, yeah, we could help you guys out right now, but then what are you going to do tomorrow? What are you going to do the next week, basically? Like, and there are times when we're like, no, we're here right now, we're helping. But there are plenty of times when they're like, we got to think about what the next move is. How do we move forward? How do we get out of this? How do we help people? And even in these bad situations, that aspect doesn't ever really break, right?
Oh yeah, well it's the basic saying, you know, give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish, he'll eat forever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that thing. But there's nothing to say that you can't give a man a fish and teach him to fish. You know?
Right. If the man's dying of hunger, he needs that fish right now.
Yeah.
Which some people, by the way, take the teach a man a fish idiom too far and are like, no helping at all. But there are times when you need to lay in, and like at the climax, as Reunion besieges the town hall, when all like 5 of the Rhodes Island guys cut off from support dig in and are like, no, we're Rhodes Island. Number one, we do not approve of Reunion. Those two groups are ideologically opposed, or at least the real version, the core of Reunion. Like, we know that Reunion's ethos is, like, basically eat the non-infected. You've heard of eat the rich? Well, this is eat everybody who's not infected, basically. Like, at some point, I think for some aspects of Reunion, they started as a positive thing of just like, hey, let's just push for more infected rights, better treatment, etc. But ultimately, their philosophy became, you know what? There is no cure for orthopathy. We're gonna die. We might as well take you guys down with us, or at the very least, make you guys feel bad about how you treated us, considering we're fucking doomed. Whereas Rhodes Island is like, we could probably fix this. We can work on it. We can make it better. You know, we're working on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
As evidenced by other stuff in the main plot, like how if Amiya didn't have her special rings and stuff, she would have probably, like, exploded or something by now.
Thanks, Calcid, and your fucking secrets.
Ooh, spooky Calcid. Still not playable again. Still haven't pulled that trigger. Wonder when they'll do it.
Apparently, they did, in a recent stream, they did show her hanging out in the dorm, though, so,
Oh, maybe we'll get her.
Maybe.
I know we're not talking about it because that's definitely future spoilers for shit we can't even touch yet, but they have shown off, like, an alternate Amiya. We talked about that last week or the week before, I think.
Yes.
And, like, there's definitely some interesting stuff there, but, like, ultimately I appreciate that while the work isn't easy and, like, sometimes it sucks, it really sucks, especially in the main story. The main story is full of sucking. The Rhodes Island and the groups they're associated with can actually do some stuff, and, like, ultimately in the story they dig in and they win? ? Like,
they stopped the complete obliteration of a town.
Yes, they managed to stop the town from being destroyed, quote unquote, by Reunion, and basically they dig in long enough and push people back enough to get some people to see sense, like some people to back down, some people to make up their mind about leaving, and then basically they hold out long enough against Mudrock for Mudrock to decide, all right, we're done with this. This is no longer whatever we're doing here. This is no longer it. And
well, like I said,
fuck
Mudrock
off.
was only there originally because, like I think 4 of her people got killed in that fire.
Yeah,
and
the
she's like,
reunion guys got, and they were looking about it, and then Suzerain. Was it 8? There were 9 total people. I thought it was split like half and half.
I
Was
can't
it
remember
4 infected full? I know there were some Mudrock Squad guys in there, but I feel like they were only half of them. Like the rest were from the town.
It was supposed to be the Doctor, the
Doctor,
messenger,
Thor,
Messenger, Thor,
Peterman.
4. It was a number.
It was a number. That's right. It wasn't like I don't think they were the majority, but there was a number of them.
Yeah, and so it's like we want answer and we want justice, for this, but
and
much
then
like
people kind of, like we said earlier, people kind of rode that wave of like, oh, they're looking for answers too. Well, answers become, I don't believe what you're saying. I will continue to break things until you tell me what I want to know. It's like it's almost like torture in that way, where like,
oh yeah, like
you're just trying to cause enough conflict that people tell you what you want to hear.
Like I remember Severin talking about like the food silo, how they were yelling at him to open it up so they can take a look, and Severin's all like, if they actually just wanted to make a look, like I'd be happy to do that, but we both know like that actually wouldn't appease them.
No, because they'd count it, and then they'd figure out there wasn't enough, and then they'd be like, how dare you, we gotta count it again. Like they wouldn't accept the truth, that's a big thing for Severin especially, where it's like, the truth only, like, he seems big, and like a lot of his interactions seem big on the concept that like, the truth doesn't always fix everything, which is true, unfortunately.
It is true.
Like, we'd love it if the truth could fix everything, but it won't. Like,
well, as long as people are ruled by their emotions, no. Like,
and honestly, if people were perfectly rational, we'd be like those weird contingency messengers who were like the radical utilitarians. I think they were called. Where like, okay, so no matter what happens, some people will die. So, and the idea of the plot that like they, just how on an emotional level, just how inhumanely like cold and calculating it is. Oh, we'll fucking assassinate a Rhodes Island doctor so that Rhodes Island, who we know to be idealists, will come in and maybe they can improve the situation. Like, what the fuck, dude? Just fucking call us.
That, I know, it's real. Well, like, here's the thing.
I mean, it worked, is the scary thing.
It worked, but, like, you gotta remember, as Rhode Island is not a complete philanthropist organization. They still have costs and things.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, that's a thing I know from even my own storytelling. I've had to grapple with that question. Like, it's cool if you can be like, we've got more money than God, we can solve everything. We're the NGO superpower, but you got to pay the bills. Yeah, somebody has to keep the lights on.
While Rhode Island is pretty strong in their own rights, like they're first and foremost a research company. They're a pharmaceutical company.
Yeah, they are about healing. It's just that especially because of the Chernobog incident, that this is even addressed in main story, that Rhodes Island shoots up to like everybody's number one anti-reunion consultants.
Yep. So, and like, but like talking about like people ruled by emotions and people ruled by logic, you gotta find that fucking nice balance. You go too far to either end, you're gonna have a bad fucking time.
Right. If you're nothing but emotional responses, that means you're basically, life's basically gonna kick your ass, because you can't. There will be times when you have to think about things rationally and do the math, and you can't just act on your gut because you're fallible. Your gut can be wrong, or your gut can be fed wrong information, and then if you act on it immediately, like a lot of the problems with these rioters were, you cause unnecessary conflict.
Yep.
Like honestly, if those, like, they didn't know it, but if those guys had realized, like, or if people had advertised, oh hey, Rhodes Island is in town, they're an outside party, they're gonna get to the bottom of this, right? And those and the rioters had just calmed down, we probably would have found Biederman, we probably could have like sussed this out, but everybody was too busy like, nah, there's something fishy up here, I don't believe anything you tell me. I demand to know the truth. And it just, like we said, it spirals out of control, because at a certain point, people just want catharsis, basically.
And at some point, they don't actually care what the truth is. They just want, I don't know what even word to call it. Because, like I said, it doesn't matter what you say. If it's not the truth as they think it is, they're not going to listen. And
right. They want, like I said, I think catharsis is the right word. Like, they want an emotional outlet. They have emotions, and they need a place to put it. We see this on a miniature scale with Folnik, which is why she's a great character in this story. And also, she's a cool character to use. I just wish her actual healing power was better. Her attack is a little low.
Oof.
Unfortunately.
Well,
but I do like the fact that she hurts people and like removes status effects. That's cool. I'll probably use her in future, but like probably on a rotation.
I probably will too. It's like it's good to have a full potential 5-star healer.
Yeah. And I gotta that at least I can set up autos and I can farm for the currency and just go apeshit. I know it's small, but I have a lot of sanity potions I can't use. But yeah, no, like I like Folnik as kind of she's the microcosm of this whole thing, and ultimately she kind of shows that you can do better, at least on an individual level, because yeah, there are times when she's out of control, but ultimately she's still like
she tries to stay rational.
Yeah, she tries to stay rational. She always is self-critical. Like when people are like, Folnik, you're freaking out right now. You need to focus. She's like, nope, you're right. I'm not doing what my friend would want. I'm not doing what I want. I'm not doing what my mentor would want. You know, like I'm not acting rationally enough. Let's heal people. And occasionally get them super high on really bad drugs, I guess. I don't know.
Woo!
Folnik's kind of terrifying, but I love her. And I love the concept of her like, oh, this is a medic who can also hurt people. I'm like, yes, Arknights, yes. Do that weird shit.
Hey, you know what it is? A little bit too much medicine becomes poison.
Yeah, I think that was something that Parakelka said is, you know, the difference between medicine and poison is dosage, basically.
Yeah, no, I believe that.
I'm sure that's not an exact quote, but it was something like that. But yeah, no, so you see this stuff where, like, Folnik herself has to wrestle with this and, like, figure it out. And, like, on a smaller scale, too, Greythroat is like, I should have been with her. And at one point, I think Folnik even says, would Operator Greythroat, if you were there, would you have changed anything? And Greythroat's like, nah, but that doesn't change the fact that I should have been here. Like, and it's always good to see these strong bonds. Like, that's the one thing Rhodes Island has going for them. It's like, everybody's real tight-knit. That's what the weird catastrophe guys, the contingency guys were working on, was the fact that they had these bonds. But I do kind of like that they settle in, and we get this ultimate resolution where, after figuring out who done it, realizing that he's already dead, and that there's nothing more to be gained from this other than sacking the city, and I appreciate Mudrock. This is probably why Mudrock will be playable later. Mudrock goes, so there's nothing to be gained here, basically. Like, actually destroying the city would be pointless. It wouldn't make anybody happy. It would just lead to more dead people. It would not improve the lives of these infected, because then they'd have to deal with the harsh winter, and basically says, all right, guys, I'm taking my ball and going home. You guys can either come with me, or you can stay here, but if you stay here, you gotta knock this shit off. And just uses up so much arts to create a giant and yell at people, and that freaks people out enough that they either, like you said, nut up or shut up. And prior to that, Rhodes Island, fuck, I think I did that the right way and then took it back, me. Like, they knuckle down at the town center, like, no, we are Rhodes Island, we are not moving. We will not let you topple this city-state. That's not how this works. Which is cool. It's too bad we can't be everywhere. I'm very interested to see what we do next, because they've already been previewing that Asbestos is coming, along with another unit, who I remember, gosh, it wasn't that long ago, I feel like, that Asbestos was previewed, but I was like, that's cool. She's cool. I want that. I got a lot of stuff. I don't know what that means, Panda. You've given me 2 letters, a hashtag, and a number, a digit. I don't know.
What is it? Contingency contract 1?
It says Pyrite. It's another CC event. Well, it doesn't matter. There'll be a banner, and I can yell about how contingency contract always gets my greebles. But I do have an Elite 2 Silver Ash now, so
maybe you'll do a little bit better.
Well, there will definitely, with that one, there will be some. Assuming it's a straight up contingency contract thing, there will be some modifiers like, oh, blah 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 units are stealth. I'll just be able to go, ha ha, fuck you. Because that's what Silver Ash is for. He's for when the game is rude.
Oh no, I might need me a Tsukinogi.
These are both 5 stars actually, so hopefully. I haven't had great luck with that, but I think I got like 3 full 10 rolls stored up. Seems very elegant. She is a deer lady. There's a lot of leg in this picture that can't possibly be work safe. Sterile surfaces, everybody.
But yeah, no. Speaking of difficulty, Lucky Dib was able to finally get 3 stars on the final map, but he is completely. Huh?
Do you want to talk about how you managed it, or do you just want to move on?
Well, I can talk about how I managed it.
I'm a little curious because I had to rebalance several times when I realized that Mudrock cheats, and if Mudrock doesn't die, you still lose, which I thought was super bullshit. So, I worked it out, but
so basically, what I did is I started off with two vanguards up at the at 2 of the left choke points on the power pads. And then I immediately moved into putting down my Jessica and Exercise facing down toward the spawn point. So whenever those casters pop up, they just immediately start fucking shooting them. That way they wouldn't have as much opportunity to take the towers. Because that's what I realized was the crux of the situation. If you let them take towers, well, that's just going to be putting damage on your own guys, and that's going to fucking end it. So after I got Exercise and Jessica out, then I put down Gavial and Warfarin. Fun fact, I actually Exercise and Gavial was over on the left side of the map on those 2 points to basically keep control of those 2 towers. Because I, of course, on my last map, used Fire Daughter just to hit those 4 tiles where my Siege and Bagpipe could hold them there. And for the most part, they're pretty effective. As I said, like.
By the way, it's funny you say that. I used a similar setup where I used Reed in the top poking down and then Siege to actually stop people from advancing, and then just put them in the fuck box of those 4 tiles of Ifrit.
And basically, like, before I was able to do it, but the last golems, which would go to the opposite side, always got me, so I'm like, fuck, I need those towers.
Yeah, I hate that guy.
So that's what I had to do. But now, yeah, I'm working on EX maps, and I'm dying constantly. Jesus.
Yeah, I don't think I got not with this few days left, I don't think, because I got to farm to make sure I get all of Fulnix tokens, so I don't know if I got the guts in me to nut up to the EX maps.
I really, like, I don't really care, like, okay, so I'll be a little upset that I missed out on medals. I like shinies, I do. But, like, if there is actually more story, because I am through, like, the first 2 maps, I haven't actually seen any fucking new story, like, hidden story yet. I'm gonna be upset, especially if it's, like, hidden behind these special conditions that is needed. And I'm just like, no! Like, don't hide story behind difficulties like that. Like, medals is one thing. Medals is like, hey, I did cool. If you're holding story out for me, you're withholding answers because I am not L33T enough for this game. And I'm like, no, I hate that. I honestly hate that. Like, I feel like I'm being punished for not being a tryhard, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to go with these, like, the super efficient strats, only level certain operators, ignore everything else. I want to enjoy my time with, like, the operators I like. Like, should I have to, you know, actually take some care into making sure I have good operators do I want? Yes. Do I need to stick to a specific regiment of operators and only those operators? No.
Yeah, it's definitely... Because Arknights has such a roster, like, there's times that I'm like, is there a better unit for this? What do I do here, right? Like, I got my mainstays, but I'm willing to diversify, but, like I mentioned earlier, God, that can be a pain in the butt.
Like, a lot of, like, I like to use Jessica and
Jessica's a good budget option.
Yeah, but, like, you know, I should probably open up Arknights and spend some time. I'm done with Azure Lane. But I
don't think by the way, to people who are wondering, I don't think we got much to say about Azure Lane. I have been destroyed by this event because the reruns are not on rate up, but I still got 5 fucking Cleveland Mews, so how you doing?
I'm getting the daily that once a day so you can get like just 800 points straight up, so I'm hoping to get my Rune Mew, which is super important to me. I probably would already have her if I hadn't accidentally spent 2k on a fucking skin box.
Rip.
Good job, Lucky. But I think I mentioned this last week. I was able to get all the new ships in like 80 cubes, so I'm kind of slow rolling it. But let me actually open up Arknights. But yeah, so like I have Gaviel and Jessica at E2, and a lot of people don't like going to Gaviel for a healer. Usually they'll be popping out like someone else because there are like there are 4 or 5 star units that are very good at what they do. Mm-hmm. But like I said, like
honestly, Gaviel's pretty good. I'm not opposed to her. I just am more comfortable with some of my other units because she is not AoE, but becomes AoE with her skill. I find her a little slow at both of those. Usually I split those 2 roles. But if you desperately need a unit who does, like one unit who does both, which you might, because this game can get very tight with needs to deployment, Gaviel is not a bad choice. And mine is max level E1 right now.
Yeah, like, Lucky has a fuck ton of units. I have fucking 16 6-stars.
Nuts.
It is nuts, and over half of them are
I
E2.
have double digit of mine, but I got a lot.
And half of them are E2. Let's see.
God, that's a lot of work. That's just, wow. Like,
Yeah, no,
kudos to you, but also just... Ugh. Also, I feel sympathetic pain for how much work you had to do that, because goddamn.
And that's the thing, though. Like, I have these, I want to use these, but they might not necessarily fill the niche that's needed. Because let me tell you, all of them are E2 level 50, because I like leveling up equally. That's somewhere. But I have an E2 Chin, Silver Ash, Exusai, Hoshiguma, Saria, Nightingale, Ifrit, Bagpipe, Siege. Those are E2. Then I have Schwartz, Neon, Mostima at 80. And then what we got here? We got Rosa and Magellan at 65, Siobi at 50, and Suzerain at 1. I was actually thinking about, like, this is one of those things, like, actually, I was thinking, like, Suzerain and fucking Volnik might actually be really good for this. And I'm like, but that means I have to level them, which means I have to spend resources.
God,
resources that I might not necessarily have and have to go spend my sanity on, which means I'm not working on the event. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Great.
No, it's a... The game, like, and yeah, we technically have kind of clairvoyance, but I've never, not in the same way that for FGO, I've never, one, been that involved in the community with Arknights, but also, two, ever found it that easy to figure out because Arknights is so flexible, right? And a lot of units do different things or have a lot of comparable. It's really hard. Like, yeah, I looked at guides for the last 2 maps. They were just guidelines to me, right? Because if you search on YouTube, you will only find low-star op runs. So, in terms of actually figuring out what units you want to use, because we're not free to, well, no, we're not free to play, because I buy the monthly pack, even though I don't usually buy Originum straight up, but you still get plenty even if you're free to play. You'll get higher rarity units. The game the people making these videos just don't know what you have, because there's so many, but if you would, actual input on which units to use, unless you only level, like, the same 12 3 or 2-star operators, or, like, usually Jessica's thrown in there, because you get at least 1 copy of her for free, shit like that. You will never be able to one-to-one recreate those strats because, hey, guess what? Maybe you didn't level vanilla, or maybe, I rotated out of leveling Fang when I got 4 and 5-star higher Vanguards that I like better. Not that Fang is bad. I used her a lot, but she's a lower rarity, so she doesn't boop snoot as hard as I sometimes want,
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I use them as literal guidelines to be like, okay, so they're looking at a team comp of like, okay, so they use 2 defenders, we use 3 medics. All right, I can figure that out. And for one map, they're like, oh, we used a lot more casters and snipers here. Sorry, it's the bow. And the play in FGO. So then I'll be like, okay, I'll take this under advisement. I'll try this with my team comp. I'll do my own things. So you have to have a certain amount of self-awareness of your units to actually play the game. Mm-hmm. And that can be frustrating when the game wants specific stuff, right? Yeah. Like when the game wants Silver Ash because they're using stealth units, so, well, you either need to have, like, some kind of Ultra Turtle strat, or you need to just use the guy who's like, fuck you, die. And I appreciate Silver Ash, I like him a lot. He was a very heavy crutch for me until I realized for general play, I needed Lapland's Silence more, because fuck spiders. But I've E2'd both those guys, so. Lap's another unit that's like, and I do believe they do have some other units that silence. But early on, Lap is just like, oh yeah, no, this is just what she does. Do you need enemies to stop doing that thing you find really annoying? Use a Lap. But I agree with you completely about the story thing where, like, I don't really, like, I like Arknights, I like the tactical feel, I like getting to know my units and leveling them and figuring out who's good for stuff and, like, experimenting, right? Mm-hmm. I don't want the narrative and, like, the completeness to be behind the wall of, like, okay, well, did you spend a lot of time in this game, leveling everything up and getting everything done and figuring out exactly who you want and rolling on every banner so you have absolutely every unit? Because I don't, because Arknights is Spook City. Oh, I still don't have Y. That's right. That's why I don't know her. I'm sad. I wanted her. I rolled on that raid up. I didn't get her. I didn't even get Ack, I think, on that one. Or was that a different? Whatever.
Did I even get an Ack? I should check.
Listen, I'm Spook City. I've gotten blasted.
Let's see here. Let's see.
I didn't get a Neon either.
Let's go Rarity Specialist.
That's pretty good.
No, I got a
not preemptive, but that's a good style. I need to go back to leveling Hoshi, just in case, just for higher level stuff. I have a Hoshiguma. She is at E1, but she's like mid level. I think I need to bring her to cap, though. That's a lot of fucking EXPs, so not right now. But that's definitely one of those things where like I have like 3 defenders I cycle between, and I don't have Zarya, so I still use Neural. Suck it. Even if I had a Zarya, I might still use Neural because we've talked about this before. I don't like when people tell me what I like when the game tells me I can't use a unit. Okay, sometimes that's specific game design. When people tell me I can't use a unit, I'm like, fuck you, I will fight you. Flip out my switchblade. Come at me, bro. Just because part of that's me, but like it's definitely... No? Why do you insist on this, Axe? No, it's because for those other people, you should be asking them what the fuck is wrong with them. Why are they telling me what to do? Like I'm sure you're thinking because you're just like, oh, I'm just trying to help. No, but that's not helping. That's like telling me how I should live my fucking life. Nobody should do that, by the way. Nobody has the right to tell you how to live your life. Fuck them.
Live free. Be strong.
That's our casual high-level politics we talked about.
Yeah.
I will actually, metaphysically, I don't think I can, because I don't think I've ever actually gotten Castle. I've only ever gotten the medic one. I have very bad luck with that.
I love Castle. I love my bots to death, but I don't want to put them to harm's danger because they are my precious little machines. Fuck you. I love them.
I mean, I've seen some high-level plays with Medic Bot. I should maybe do some investment in that. But
it's like I've definitely done some high-level play with Medibot. Just doesn't like it's like I need quick heals. Go Medic.
Like technically, if you tell me I can't use a unit that I don't own, yes, I agree with you. I can't use them. I can't use Bagpipe. I don't own one.
And Axe is
continuing to justify. I'm like, nah. I don't know if I could physically suplex somebody, but it would definitely be interesting if we ever did a live Q&A panel. It would be much like with Mailbag. There would be some where we would just like lean in. Nah. Next question. I feel like there are times when both of us are like, nah, I'm not dealing with this right now. Nope. I don't need
this is probably why we don't have public events.
One reason, yeah, we're not good at that. We need to get big enough that we can hire people to do that for us.
I was like, listen, if we're going to go talk to people, there's probably going to be swearing. There's probably going to be yelling, and there might just be, fuck you, get out of here. Usually not the best public image. Usually.
Now, some of that will be jokingly. If I tell you to get out, get the fuck out, I'll be lying. I'll be joking. Hopefully, if you could see my face, you could tell, because that is the thing that is lost to the show. Like, people... We've talked about this definitely with, like, RP and stuff, where I have to, like, in case they can't hear it in my voice, I have to remind people, where I'm like, oh, no, guys, trust me, I'm smiling right now. I'm happy. Even though I'm yelling at you, I'm not in a bad mood, as opposed to, this is my serious face, I'm in a bad mood right now. Don't fucking at me, bro. That is something that definitely the internet medium loses. Mm-hmm. We'll get cameras sometime, we swear. Do people want it? I don't know. Well, I am on sound sensitivity, and I will admit, especially when we're doing other things, I try not to laugh into the mic. Like when Lucky's doing a mailbag and he says something or does a funny read or has like a kerfuffle over the thing, I usually try to silently chuckle away from the microphone because I don't want to break Lucky's flow, but also I can't hold it in.
Lucky likes to ham it up on mailbag a little bit, just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait, does someone want to be my friend? Who is this? Hello, Marias. I will be your friend.
But yeah, I still appreciate Arknights. Like I said, I'm really like, nah, I need to get back into the story again kind of thing. But the fact that sometimes the game gets very pushy about the lengths you have to go to get the whole picture, and I'm like, okay, I don't like the angle you're going for here.
Yeah, I was actually looking at the thing. Apparently, I am missing I think one Code of Brawl story, and I'm all like, God fucking damn it.
R.I.P.
Mm-hmm. Because that's the other thing. Like, there's no out of event way to get said story. Azure Lane's bad about this too. Like, you don't get it. It's fucking gone, y'all.
Yeah.
It's like, you will never know. And I'm just like, no, but I want to know. I do appreciate, though, that when they put in that memory system, they fucking they basically backported all the other ones. It's like, yeah, did you actually complete it? Here you go. Have some fucking reels. Here you go. But no, Arknights is good. I'm excited. I'm waiting for the day that we will have a Mudrock, and I will throw down. I'll hella throw down.
Yeah, no. And I appreciate the level of, just... Like we said, the subtle foreshadowing, the fact that they're willing to integrate these units, and do a lot of fun stuff. All right, well, we've been going for about an hour on mostly Arknights. I think we can skip Azure Lane. I want to take a pause real quick, because I'm thirsty. I'm going to go get water.
Do it.
So let's take a brief break, and then we'll come back to something else.
Pause.
Okay, we're unpaused.
Oh, no.
Well, you were talking about Klee. Do you want to talk about Genshin?
Nah, well, I guess we can a little bit. They have come out with some of the details for 1.1, which will be dropping here in a few days, actually.
So it is correct for me to be like, I also need to spend some of my time finishing up Genshin story.
Yes.
All right, fair. I was planning on it anyway.
Let's see here. I think they've mostly been talking about details about the new reputation system. But basically, is you go to areas, you do quests, you get better reputations. As you get better reputations, you can get neat gadgets.
That's cool.
Like, apparently there are compasses that point to treasure chests. There are, I think, a bottle where you can bottle up wind spirit so you can make an on-the-spot fucking wind thing. It's a bunch of stuff. I don't have the list handy at the moment, but I'm looking forward to it. I don't know if they actually are expanding quests and stories, though. I should probably double check on that. Well, actually, do they even have a 1.1 list here? Let me see. Genshin Impact 1.1. People are asking list, release date, patch notes. That's what I'm looking for, patch notes. Oh yeah, we're gonna have new characters. Let's see here. Reputation. Details. Oh yes, the city reputation system. You have to reach adventure rank 25 or above to unlock the system, and you have to complete. For Mondstadt, you have to complete the Archon quest, the Outlander Who Caught the Wind, Prologue Act 1, and Leeway, complete the Archon quest, Fairwear, Archaic Lord Act 2. Let's see, that's increasing reputation. There are going to be new wings.
That's cool.
Let's see, gadgets. Omniclus Resonance Stone. Windcatcher. Yeah, that was the bottle one. Condensed resin. That sounds interesting. The NRE, you can... Apparently it, the NRE is interesting. Apparently you can put, like, extra food in it and just quickly consume it.
That's pretty cool.
Let's see, a Seeker Stove as a portable cook pot.
That's also pretty good.
Yeah, portable waypoints, Amino Treasure Compass, and Geo Treasure Compass. Let's see here.
Kind of good, depending on how they implement it.
The Treasure Compass basically is you have to reach reputation 6, and when you use it, it will prompt directing you towards the nearest chest in the vicinity. Follow it to find the chest. Let's see here. Reputation name cards, reputation recipes, reputation wind gliders, exploration progress system, archive system, more equipment, more material. Oh, wait, no, excuse me. They are splitting up. Looks like they redid the fucking they're redoing the menu UI and all that stuff.
That'll be interesting. The UI is a little bit finicky.
Yep, books, tutorials.
Also, by the way, I've heard people talking about, because it's technically a PS4 game, so it's got a PS5 version, like an upgrade version. Apparently that runs pretty smooth, like a lot faster loading, so that'll be interesting to see. We'll have to, see how many migration effects come.
From what I understand, I think they say that your account and the PS4 will be playable on the PS5.
Okay, just so long as it's like, oh, your same PSN account, you're the same dude. That'll be fine. Not that I've, like, done a heck of a lot, but I've done enough to be like, if I had to start fresh, that would be, probably a bullet.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, sounds like they got some interesting stuff. Like I said, I was already planning on doing a catch up. Now I have even more reason to do it, and I can at least, again, because I do play it on the PS4, I can at least multitask that way and like do my Arknights runs and get my Arknights currency for all those Fulniks, while also doing Genshin and. Possibly, if I wanted to go complete apeshit, I could even also do FGO stuff. But FGO's not really doing anything worthwhile.
I'm trying to spend my AP. That's about it.
Yeah, I'm spending my AP, but that's still, as we've talked about with FGO, that's still very fast. I'm at excuse me, sorry, drank water too fast. I'm at 140 now, so hey, I can do 3.5 quests before my AP's done. So it's pretty fast.
Yep.
Especially if I'm farming embers because I've got a 3-turn team for that.
Ta-da!
So, FGO is definitely anticipated, and actually, I gotta be real, I'm kind of glad I mentioned this earlier, but I am in a hurricane zone, again, even though it's November. Thanks, Mother Nature. Thanks, global warming. Tropical depression, or not exactly tropical storm Ada, as in the Greek letter, that's right. We're this deep in the Greeks. Technically, I think if I remember rightly, they use Greek letters for out-of-season storms, but still, that means we've had a lot if we're in Eta, or H. So, yeah, crazy. It's not gonna be a big deal. Like, I've been through worse storms. Like, at worst, it's gonna It's going to plow into Cuba, which has mountains. Pro tips for those of you, by the way, who don't know about meteorology and aren't hit by hurricanes regularly. Hurricanes rapidly lose power over land. They are fed by warm water and moisture, so over the ocean they gain strength and sometimes speed. But actually, slow storms are scarier because they build up more energy in the clouds. But passing over Cuba especially is a bit of a buffer there. Like, it'll strafe Cuba, which has some mountain ranges that'll soak up a lot of that stuff, and then looks like it's going to curve back into the Gulf. But it could meander, and there's a risk if it takes the long route and doesn't pass over land again, like it doesn't just hit Florida's southern tip straight on. It could actually go to a Cat 1, but that's still not, like, that's bad, but I've had worse. So hopefully nothing happens. That would be, now I think you're talking about, that would be, I'd see being effects in my area like Tuesday or Wednesday. So hopefully no real problems, hopefully no shipping delays, Amazon. Nothing bad happens to bog any infrastructure down, but I'm kind of glad that we're not in any, there's no, like, serious things going on that if I got hit with a really bad storm, I'd be in a bad way about.
Mm-hmm.
And just, hope the lights stay on, guys. Basically, what the real risk is, you guys might miss a Tuesday stream. Sorry.
Oh, no.
If I miss it, it's because I'm currently being destroyed by Mother Nature. Thanks, guys. That's how life be sometimes, But yeah, I do. Genshin's on my list to catch up on, so I'll do that then. I can accomplish that pretty easy. Been playing a lot of stuff kind of casually levels. Do we have any more gacha stuff we want to talk about?
Oh, no, not really. Destiny Child is being
It
Destiny
exists.
Child.
You have fun.
It exists. I have fun.
All right, well, because I want to title this episode Sid Meier's Hole. Because I think that'll get the clicks. I can talk about how I fell in the Civ hole.
Talk about how you fell
I
in the
was
Civ.
worried I was going to do.
You did.
Well, let's preface this. Lucky, do you play a lot of Civilization? It feels kind of like you would, because I know you like your fiddly.
Oh, no, I do play Civ, but I haven't played Civ in a long time. That's the thing.
Fair enough. It is a time sink. Like, I had that thought to myself when I was like, do I really want to get it at this price? But, yeah, no, I bought what they were calling on Steam, the Platinum Bundle, which is it was Civ VI, it was the 2 major expansion packs, and the smaller ancillary DLCs for, like, extra Civs and content and stuff. It is not the New Frontier Season Pass, which has its own standalone updates, which I am my jimmies are a little bit rustled, thank you for asking. Which is like another $40. Like, I'll probably get it, especially if it goes on a sale, but it probably won't go on sale because it's not complete yet, You know how Season Passes are. But that actually also has some additional fun content that I'm interested in. I just didn't feel like playing it, like paying like $80 right away for it when I didn't know if it would run. It does. Shout out to Civ 6. It has a benchmark mode.
Oh, cool.
Like it literally has a way to test if your settings do it, because there was a slight concern that the graphics would be too goo, because like I said, I don't have a standalone graphics card. Nah, it's fine. It's Civ. It's not a big deal. I have heard there's some complaints that the latest updates or later updates have been like kind of unoptimized or janky, and I have noticed that if I do a big map with like all the civilizations and all the city-states, like it gets really slow loading turns and even freezes sometimes. I have autosave, so it's not a big deal. It just takes a while to boot up, just because there's like 50 billion warriors or scouts running around the map all the time. But that's just that. I think that's been a problem with every Civ. If you get a newer Civ, if you crank it up all the way, there'll be a lot of shit that runs around, so you got to watch out for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been playing bigger maps, but with smaller Civ counts, because I'm still trying to find my bearing. But I've been playing it a lot. I would say I been doing pretty good. My first game I played is England, Queen Victoria. And I got a diplomatic victory somewhere in the middle of the Atomic Age, which was pretty weird because that was not what I was aiming for. But hey, that means that technically I closed that out. And then when I played it out for some more and I realized the flaws in my system, I was able to be, okay, well, it was a victory. I'll just scratch the save game for now and move on to try and learn some more. Because Civ 6 is definitely finicky. It's got some interesting, especially with the expansions, it's got some interesting things. Got some interesting subsystems. I don't know if the sale's still ongoing, but it's like 75% off. So it's a pretty decent, for Civ, pretty decent bargain, because Civ games usually stay pricey for a long time. Like, I think I didn't pick up Civ 5 until they announced that Civ 6 was coming out, at which point, buying your Game of the Year bundle with all the DLC actually tends to get cheaper. As is their way. But, yeah, so, been playing around. So, they have a couple of, I think, fairly interesting different systems. So I'm trying to remember, it's been a long time since I played 5, which I do own. I have played 5, but it's been a while. I don't think 5 had and some of the audience can help me out, I don't think 5 had quite the same district system that 6 does. No, it does not, actually. Unless Ethiopia is only in the season pass. Because I have all the standalone DLC, but you can only get the secret societies and the apocalypse mode and other stuff if you have the Frontier Pass, which, like I said, is currently another $40. I'm interested. It adds extra stuff. I've realized that I need to figure out what the fuck I'm doing before I go that extra level, right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's a lot of fun stuff, and there's a lot of weird shit, too, which I appreciate. This is a thing that I've had to complain about Civ before, and I actually wanted to try and do a stream of this to show it off, but unfortunately, Cult of Power 2 is so old, it does not have a windowed mode, and so OBS is very confused, and just last Tuesday, I did not have the time to, troubleshoot and figure out a good way to do it other than run screen capture and, make sure to be careful about alt tabs. Which I'm not sure I want to do because I'm not necessarily the best at tabbing and changing my little overlays in OBS. I could probably do it, but I need to maybe do some more troubleshooting and figure out some stuff. If anybody has any suggestions for, getting OBS to capture old games like that cleanly, let me know. But I think it's just got a weird thing because it's full screen only, so that when you're tabbed over to OBS, it's asleep, right? Mm-hmm. So nothing displays, and I have no way of checking if it actually plays anything. I think I got some stuff to record when I set it to record and tabbed out and then double check, but it was weirdly sized. I don't know if it would be a good stream or not. I need to do some troubleshooting, like I said.
Maybe you should invest in getting a second monitor.
Yeah, I don't know how expensive that would be. Actually, I should ask if we have a fucking second monitor lying around.
Yeah.
I got the hookups for that? Probably got the hookups back there. Might need to find some extra
cables. Yeah, if it's in the computer, it should actually shit. No, yeah, you should still have...
No, actually, I realized, I have an HDMI, because, I definitely have an HDMI, because, when I was setting up my computer, I plugged my fucking new desktop box into my TV.
Yeah.
A true patrician, by the way. Sitting on my floor, running my PC off my TV as I set it up.
Yeah, but I gotta say, that's how I solve a lot of the full screen issues. If you just have it on your second screen, you can just look over instead of having to alt-tab.
Yes, and if I only ran Cult of Power 2 on the second screen, I could tell OBS, hey, capture this display and this display only.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll look into that one, too. Because, like I said, I'd really like to show you guys, because Civilization Cult of Power, which, unfortunately, I still have my original discs. That game is so fucking old, it does not run on new machines anymore. I tried. It just don't.
Damn.
It's one of those. So, yeah. But I really wish I could, because unfortunately I believe Cult of Power 2 did away with the space layer. So Civilization Cult of Power, I'll tell this story and then I'll explain more about Civ 6 stuff. That is a game which, it was a spin-off done by Activision that they did do a sequel to, but the sequel lost the rights to call itself Civilization, hence why it's Call to Power 2. And they dropped the Civ part. But it's in the theme of old games. I think it was built around the same time. It was made around the same time Civ 2 was, so, got your displays, got your stuff. It did some stuff that I think Civ hasn't reintegrated until, 6, where, at least in the first game, you got to pick how much of your population was workers and what tiles they worked. So, you could be oh, I have elephants on this square. I'm gonna make sure I farm that one specifically. But a lot of the resources, they weren't strategic or anything, which is something that 6 does, where, especially if you do alternate modes, to make swordsmen, you need iron. If you don't have iron, you can't upgrade to swordsmen, or produce them, kind of a thing. If you don't have oil, you can't have submarines, which, if you are lucky enough to have an area that has those things, it's not a problem, because you can, between, different government policies you can set and civics and improvements, you get a pretty steady influx per turn, but they do a fun thing I like, where you don't discover certain resources until you get certain researches or civics unlocked. Because you don't fucking know what niter is. You don't know what how good niter is for gunpowder until you discover gunpowder. So, I appreciate it, I also hate it. You can be totally fucked. In my first game as England, I think why I fell behind on tech when I was in a game with Korea, I'll talk about them later, but I fell behind tech because I did not have a solid source of iron, and I lost the city I made far away to make iron, and I'll talk about that more later. But yeah, anyway, they've got a lot of different stuff with resources, but Cult of Power did a lot of near and far future shit. It had 2 additional ages, it had the Genetic Age and the Diamond Age, as in the novel by Neil Stephenson, The Diamond Age, which you should read if you haven't. It's great. So like I said, the first game had a space layer. You could literally build a world wonder called that was the space elevator, the Star Ladder, right? Which would immediately build a space colony above the city you built it in. And you would have space colonies and other stuff. You could have undersea colonies, which is really interesting because definitely in 6, and I don't remember if it was in 5, but in 6 there's global warming and shit, right? Like there's a climate control system, and so sea levels can rise. And there can be floods, so you can build flood barriers and dams and stuff like that. That's really cool. Cult of Power already did that already. Like, back in the Civ II era, that already had, like, pollution was a thing that could make your population unhappy. Sea levels would rise. You could ruin tiles. Like, if you used nuclear weapons, you would produce wasteland tiles that were completely useless. And you'd cause a shitload of pollution, right?
Mhm.
And like I said, I forget how much of this stuff Civ V had, but some of this was very ahead of its time. So there was a lot of weird shit, like undersea colonies, space colonies. Some of it even moved into the sequel. I think I talked about this, but you could build eco-terrorists. Like, you could build a government called Ecotopia, where their only policy is pro-environment, basically. Like, they had a lot of weird shit for governments. They had, like, corporate republics. Well, don't even at me. And then you have Beyond Earth. Excuse me, Architect. And then you have Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri, which is also way better and more advanced. Where's my fucking sequel to that? Anyway. So you had a lot of these interesting things. Like, you could build something called the Eden Project and build, Eco Rangers, which are basically nanite eco nukes. They delete your enemy's cities and replace them with new, pristine, clean, natural tiles. There was another one that was really fun, a world wonder you could build called the Nanite Diffuser, where, it immediately deletes all nuclear submarines and all nuclear missiles on the map. Like, these nanomachines go everywhere and they eat all nuclear weapons. They're just gone. And I think they prevent people from building them for a long time after.
Wild.
Like there was a lot of freaky shit. Like I said, I'd love to show it off sometime, and I'll figure that out. But 6 does not go to that extent. Go ahead.
Talk about Civ 6. Oh, sorry, no. I was just saying, hearing you talk about Civ 6, like, God, I kind of want to play some Civ now.
It's a trip. It's and even playing old stuff is fun, like getting into that mood. But yeah, so with 6, I'm still figuring out some stuff. There is some near future shit, and they might do more, but it doesn't scratch quite the same itch I like from Call to Power. Like, it doesn't go far enough in the future, at least what I've seen. Like usually you get science victory when you win the space race. The version of science victory, for Call to Power was you go into space, you search for alien wormholes, you send a probe through, you get alien DNA, and then you clone an alien, right? Like, it's a whole drawn-out process that involves actually exploring the space layer. And it's kind of weird, because some of these expansion packs have done the weird shit. Like, there is actually a future age, and you can build giant nuclear death robots. That's pretty cool, unless you're the guy who doesn't have a giant nuclear death robot, because they're pretty fucking unstoppable, and I think it's a little OP, but anyway. But the district system I talked about, you will love and hate this, Lucky. Because I know you love your fiddly, I know you love your perfect organization.
Mm-hmm.
But also, God, this can be really annoying. So, you have, your hexes for your cities. You can turn some of those hexes into districts, which let you build your buildings, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you want to build an armory, or like a barracks, you have to build an encampment district first, and then you put your armory, your barracks, your stables in that district. But you do get bonuses. Like, if you want to spawn military units, you can spawn them in your encampment district, so you can have more guys appear in your cities. You can have them spawn farther away from your city, so they don't have to hoof at those extra couple of hexes. Fun stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the game is really good when you can... Well, one, a lot of specialty civilizations have specialty districts. Which, by the way, this is why I was talking about Korea is OP. They have a special district for science, which gets a lot of extra bonuses, and that they can uniquely build and build it very early in the game. Which means that if you're in a game with an AI Korea, you may accidentally be dragged into the classical or the medieval age before you can figure out how to make iron tools. Like, I have been bamboozled hard by AI a couple of times. Even in my most recent game, where I deliberately made sure I picked quote-unquote low-tier civs to figure stuff out, I think I just got really fucked with science production. I got back-to-back Dark Aged, which is, I think, a new mechanic for 6, where basically, if you earn enough era score points, you can have... Actually, probably not, but the specific ways they work are different. You can have Dark Ages or Golden Ages. So I didn't get enough shit done in the classical and in medieval eras to get a Golden Age. So I had back-to-back Dark Ages as Japan, just because somebody out there was building a lot of fucking science, and it's a little annoying. Like, I get what they're going for, right? Because that happens. You can get sucked up the technological curve. I don't like that it punishes me in additional levels, because I've already seen the instance where, oh yeah, I'm back here still building battleships, and I've barely figured out biplanes, and this asshole's got a fucking nuclear-powered death robot with particle guns. And actually, I think some of that might have to do with, like, diplomacy. Like, I don't think you can ask for research. You can steal research for spies. And I think that's I think there's some bugs going on with spies, because I got a lot of spies kicked out of cities early. That might just be a gameplay error. You can steal them with them, and you can enter into alliances with people to build more science. I cannot go to my buddy Chandragupta and go, hey, do you know how to make lasers? Can I give you some gold and you can teach me how to make lasers? No. Which I know in other installments you can actually, like, trade research advances and civics and stuff.
I'm confused. Oh, sorry. No, sorry. I'm on Steam. I'm looking at Civ 6. I'm just all like, okay, cool. Civ 6, standard game. Very positive. You know, Civ 6, Civilization Gathering Storm. Mostly positive. And then from there, it is just mixed and then negative.
Interesting.
Trying to figure out why. Like,
I think Gathering Storm is the most recent update. So Gathering Storm added, like, natural disasters and shit, and some new gameplay tweaks. And then, did Rise and Fall come out? Guys at home, did Rise and Fall come out first? Because Rise and Fall introduced a new mechanic which might be a little fucky, called loyalty. Where your cities have loyalty to you, and if you don't do enough for them, they can rebel, especially if they're far from your capital, and they will become independent cities and eventually flip. This also means if you conquer an enemy Civ cities, you have to be careful about building up their loyalty, otherwise they will just revert back to where they came from. Conversely, this can work against you, or against your opponents too, because I've actually had that happen where one of my AI civilizations had to raise their own city because his city flipped and would have gone to me if he didn't destroy it. And I'm a little mad he destroyed it, but there's not much you can do. It's interesting. They've definitely had some layers to the content packs.
Because I'm looking at the bundle here, the Platinum Bundle.
The Platinum Bundle? Oh, wait, hold on. I think my Discord's freaking out.
Only negative with over, like, 1,000 reviews. I'm like, what?
Weird. I don't know.
Mostly negative. Australia Civilization and Scenario Pack. Mixed. Persia, Macedonia Civilization. Mostly negative. I'm just like, why?
Interesting. Do people just not like those new civs?
Let me pull up some reviews.
Also, hold on. I'm going to disconnect and reconnect from the call. My Discord ate some of that. All right, reconnected. I got the gist of what you were saying, Lucky. It's just it dropped some of that conversation. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe people just don't like some of the new civs. I will say Civ 6 definitely has, for lack of a better term, a power creep problem. Like, there are some launch-era civs which are not necessarily bad, but they are clearly outclassed by later game civs. So like I said, Korea has a special science district that, as the AI especially, they will just shit out, and they will just race ahead of you in science. I had Korea in my start game as England. I could barely build, like, airports and biplanes. I was stealing shit like lasers and stealth materials from them in, like, the mid-atomic age. Like, it's nuts. I probably should play as them sometime, because that's the thing that's the thing that's really getting me right now as I do these experimental playthroughs, right? Like, I'm still trying to figure out the game and figure out the best way I want to play it. I'm constantly feeling like I don't do science fast enough, like I'm not advancing as fast as the AI, which bothers me. One, just because I'm slightly insulted, because I'm used to playing Civ and being like, I'm the guy who has ironclads in 1700 and you still have a guy on a horse. Like, usually that's how a good game of Civ goes.
Alright, I think Lucky will pick up Civ 6 and then Rise and Fall and Gathering Storm and call it good there.
That's a good pack. That's a good setup.
Some
of those extra civs are fun, but yeah, that gives you a lot of the base level stuff.
Yeah.
It's fun. I know some people have been calling for us to play multiplayer. Again, I personally don't think I'm confident enough in the game for that.
Also, the people who probably want you to play multiplayer are the people who are probably going to just fucking destroy you because they know things.
Well, yeah, there's that. And there's also just, like, there's a certain amount of enthusiasm for multiplayer. I like the prospect of, like, dealing with real politic. Like, could I trust Lucky to have my back? Probably. Versus people on this server? Absolutely. Would I trust Lucky to have my back when it comes down to somebody's got to win? Oh, God, no. Lucky
Hey,
would
hey.
absolutely give me a sudden but inevitable betrayal.
Hey, man, if it's just me and you, there can only be one victor.
Right. No, I know. But, like, that's the thing where, like, all right, Lucky, we've defeated everybody. Let's have a calm race to scientific victory. And then Lucky reveals he's been working on the Manhattan Project for the last 6 turns secretly, and just, let's fly with the nukes. And I'm like,
I mean, that's scientific.
It is. And hey, I'll admit, I'm not above that either. I would totally be like, oh, hey, I could do nukes now? Well, this is just a multiplayer game. Fuck it.
Well, honestly,
I'll
it's
put
like
Penguin
I would go for the betrayal if Mega was maybe acting a little sus on the side. I'm like,
But it's an interesting, especially to play, for instance, on like Discord in an open VC,
yeah,
and like, you know, think about all that stuff and talk and do the real negotiation, right? Of like, because that's the thing. The AI in Civ 6 is decent. Like, they haven't freaked out too much. They have this system of like agendas where like rulers will have some things that they always like and then some things that are chosen at random. So like, I think like, for instance, Cleopatra, she likes if you have a strong military. If you don't have a strong military, she doesn't like you and will try and bully you, basically. There are others who like science, who like development, who like faith, for instance. And they can have sub of these. Like, some people are like, oh, you don't have a big population. That's very sassy. Like, for instance, I made really good chums with Gilgamesh in my first run, Babylonia. Or actually Sumeria, I think, technically. All the same region. Because his big agenda that's always on is Gil just likes friends. If you're not a dick to him, he'll just be your friend. Which is good. I appreciate that some of the AIs are just like, obviously, if you're trying for a domination-style victory, yeah, that can be a little bit annoying to, like, constantly have to play the friendship game, but in most terms, just being friends with the dude is pretty easy.
Oh shit, it actually turns out that buying the Platinum Bundle is actually cheaper, because for some odd reason. Why?
It's a little... that is a little wild, yeah. I've had that same conversation about the bundle.
Yeah, 47, 43... that, and then
they did a good sale. It's on a good sale right now. But yeah, it's pretty fun. The district thing, like I said, if you can get your district placement down, because some districts have for adjacency bonuses and stuff, you could do some really interesting things. I haven't mastered it. And there are some things that, like I said, I haven't found my sweet spot for. I appreciate, though, there seems like there's a lot of options and there's a lot of different ways to win, and like a lot of different civs have like. This is actually a game where picking a different civilization and picking a different leader, because some civs have multiple leaders. Like, I think they threw in Gandhi again for the memes, but you can also play as Chandragupta of India now, if you have the full download packs. So, like, you can switch up your leaders, which have different bonuses, and then you can also do different civ stuff. Like, the leader of Japan is Hojo Tokamune.
Hojo, really?
Yeah, one of the big leaders for against the Mongol invasion.
Yeah.
And his specific leader bonus is Divine Wind, which is you take reduced damage on your tiles from hurricanes, and enemy forces take double damage from hurricanes on your tiles. But Japan specifically has bonuses of the Meiji Restoration, which is your adjacency bonuses are doubled, and you get access to Specialist Samurai, which are a better guy in the medieval period. I think they're better knights, and they get access in the modern era to specialist electronics factories for more output, because that's very Japanese. So they can do some interesting things. I've experimented with that one. Yeah. The achievement list is robust and funny. I'm not an achievement completionist, but at the very least, some of these challenges like lead you to experiment. So you can probably really find your proper playstyle. Like, I know Lost been playing a lot of games as Australia, because of course. But Australia's special bonus is when you declare a war on them, they get 10 turns of, like, doubled production. So you actually want to provoke people into declaring wars with you, and then you get to immediately step up production and go apeshit. Like, that's pretty cool, like, the different bonuses. Some people are better at defensive wars, some people are better at offensive wars, expansion. There's a lot of interesting, good stuff in there. And definitely there are different civs that are good at different eras, like, especially where your specialist units are. Like, for instance, if you're playing the British, either version, because I think there's two, you can play Eleanor of Aquitaine or Queen Victoria. Your specialist units are in, like, the Renaissance era, like Redcoats and Sea Dogs. You know, privateers, better musketmen. But they have bonuses because they can build a special version of the Dockyard District, which gives them free naval units. So you're always ahead of the curve on naval power, but you kind of, I think, peak in the Renaissance era just before we get into the... Is that the atomic age after the Renaissance? No, it's the industrial. It's industrial then atomic, right? I'm not 100% up on my ages yet. I haven't played that many games all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a lot of fun. I'm playing lots of hours all the time, catching hours when I can, experimenting, trying to find the Civ I like best, the kind of map style I like best. Because, like, I do actually like exploring and doing water stuff, but also I realize that can really fuck you because water tiles are hard to grow into, basically. Like, you've only got so many improvements you can do on them, especially early. Like, until you discover plastics and stuff, like, the only thing I think you can do is, like, you can build a dockyard for, like, extra production and building naval units, like naval military units out there. You can build fishing nets for, you know, more food. Eventually, you can build oil rigs, so you can get oil out of the water tiles. But, like, it's because rising sea levels will happen. So far, I've seen of like, man, I like the extra water on these maps, and I especially like water barriers. Like, I like the idea of being smaller islands that it's harder for people to get to. Especially because, goddamn, this is another one of those. This is one of those things that I really wish they had finer tuning for, is barbarians. Because I've had to restart maps, because barbarians can get fucky. Like, the way they work now is their camps will spawn scouts first. They'll spawn their own versions of scouts. If they scout your city, their scout will run back to their camp and report, and then they'll start spawning offensive units. But they can have different flavors. Barbarians can spawn triremes and quadriremes, which, if you take a while to get your navy up and going, if you're a coastal civ, enemy quadriremes could be a pain in the ass. Some of them can spawn horse-based barbarians, which can be very unfair because they move fast, and, hey, guess what? You probably can't research anti-cav for a while. And they can just be really fucking annoying, and I really wish the game had a finer tune setting for, like, okay, I want barbarians to exist because I appreciate what they're going for, right? Like, they prevent you from being totally non-military, they encourage you to explore, they reward you for beating up, and there's some tech advances. This is also something I think that is new to 6, I don't remember it in 5, where, you will have these eureka moments for certain advances that are always set. So, like, if you beat 3 barbarians, you get an advance. If you kill a barbarian with a slinger, you get an advance on archery, for a specific example, stuff like that. So it encourages you to, if you want to do your science and your civics faster, it encourages you to spread out and do multiple things, make multiple units, but that can be a little hard sometimes, because, again, like I said, I'm still cracking this. I feel like there are times when, like, how would I ever produce 3 knights in a reasonable manner? Like, that would take me, like, 20 turns each in 3 different cities. How would I do this in a reasonable time frame? And if you can't, you can't. But it helps. But yeah, like, there's a reason to beat up barbarians, but I wish I could tell the game to be like, okay, maybe only a little bit of barbarians, or maybe a lot of, like, to change it up besides just barbarians on, barbarians off, because sometimes I feel like you can be super hard fucked by barbarians if they're too close. But again, there's a lot of options. I really like how so far this is super, like it seems really customizable. Like, if you go in advanced options, you can pick all kinds of, like, map types. With the natural disaster ones, you can set the frequency of that. You can, like, they have a feature called map age, which basically is the geological age of the Earth. So if you pick a new or younger map, you have, more hills, more volcanoes. If you pick an older map, less hills, less volcanoes.
Wow. Like,
there's a lot of different options you can go for. So even though, actually, let me pull up Steam. Steam can tell me how many hours I've got. Let me go to my Steam library. Because it's gonna be, considering I only bought this last weekend, it's gonna be a shocking amount. But, yeah, I am at a total of, 21.7 hours already. So, like, I've already sunk a decent amount into it, but I'm still finding my feet. And I feel like that happens a lot with Civ games, right? Like, you gotta really figure out what you're going for, because every Civ game is a little bit different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I appreciate it. Though, that said, I've also, because I've been hearing about it, I'm also starting to get interested in Stellaris. But that's another big game that I'm not going to buy right away, because I know that it's going to suck up a lot of time, so that's going to put a pin in. But Stellaris is kind of another space-based kind of 4X type game, but it's real-time with pause, so, like, it requires a lot more brain stuff. So I'm not yet ready to upgrade, but, like, it seems pretty cool. Like, that has crazy levels of customization for like what your race is and does, what your culture does, and like exploring the Earth. It's got a fuck ton of expansions, which is also another reason why I'm not just diving into it right away. Where like you can get like the Leviathan update, where like there's fucking, in addition to crazy battleships and stuff, there's like literal fucking space dragons. Like it's got a lot of interesting stuff. It sounds for, and I also like that high sci-fi shit.
I do too.
This has actually got me, interesting enough, like jumping from Civ to Stellaris to like in general stuff. There it is. Like he's booting it up.
Mm-hmm.
He's in there.
I do what I want.
But that's actually got me thinking about like, well, one, I had a game like that for Explorer. Like I was reading over my notes for that, which is about like space survival stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then that got me thinking about actually, like, honestly, like, oh, I wonder if I could do a, like, that's not something I've ever done fully before, but if I was like, I wonder if I could do a full-blown gate-crashing full campaign for EP.
Well,
like,
didn't you want to design one? Because I thought you were designing one, like, a long time ago.
I've had thoughts about it, but I had never actually gone so far as to, like, I've designed a lot of potential gate-crashing planets. I never thought of it, planned it quite a campaign level. Like, I was always wondered if, would that be something we could do? And this got me thinking about that. Like, could I get people invested in that? Could I do that with EP2 and kind of think it out? And I think I could. Not right away, obviously, but, like, that's definitely, like, I could work something out that would, like, fit those tones and focus on, while still weird alien shit, like, it would be much more about the, hey, you're in weird places doing colonist stuff, trying to figure out how to, what'd you say, like, how to build up and do tech and stuff and figure it out. And that could work. I do have some old adventures that are still in, like, 1E I never run, one of which is gate crashing based. So that's written.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's just, that's kind of like my, when I touch on a genre I haven't done in a while, or if I get into something new, that's definitely something that happens to me pretty fast as I start thinking about, what would I do with this? How could I go that extra level, etc. Like, I didn't think about it in the sense that I would do it, but I definitely had a thought in there of like, wait, this has got me thinking about tabletop stuff. Could I just replicate the Civ experience in tabletop? And I was like, nah. Not with the tools I have right now. I think that's kind of what the RPG Rain is for. Because Rain is a one-roll engine game, so Lucky knows what that means, where your stats are for, like, organizations. Like, you have individual characters, but you also have dice for, like, organizations at different levels. And definitely that is a type of game. I don't know necessarily in what setting or what genre, but that's a type of game I've wanted to do, is, like, a pure organization-based one. I just don't know exactly what I'd be doing with that yet.
Mm-hmm.
That's just one of those game types I'd love to run. Not that we're going anywhere. We've talked about this before. Star Wars is still going strong. Like, I think I'm tightening up towards an actual conclusion, like I said, because I have one in mind. And I don't know where I'd jump next, because we've got a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, I've been thinking a lot of stuff, and I've been playing a lot of Civ. Civ's fun. Possibly been playing too much Civ. But it happens. And like I said, I don't know. Maybe I'll do a multiplayer game. Maybe I won't. I don't know. Like, but there was definitely talking about, like, how, to kind of circle back to, like, how people talk about stuff. There was definitely a moment where I was like, because I was talking about getting Civ 6, and a lot of people were talking about it because it was on sale, and, like, people were like really pushing, oh, we should get some multiplayer together. I can do multiplayer if you want. We can all get together. And I had to be like, okay, everybody. I feel like, because I'm talking about it, you're saying this stuff, I need you to stop right now. I don't even know if this game fucking runs on my machine yet, okay? I need you to calm your tits, alright? Because that's kind of an anxiety thing for me, where, like, people start getting invested in something, and I'm like, whoa. I don't even know if this is a thing yet. I need you to calm down, because you're, like, dragging me fast out of my control into something that I'm not okay with. I need you to stop, please. And, like, cool it until I know what's going on. So you've booted it up. Are you playing yet?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Who'd you pick?
I'm going with Hojo.
Okay. If you can get your districts to work, that'll definitely be a fun thing. Let's see. We're at about 2 hours. Talked for about an hour-ish about Civ. That's pretty good. Talked about gacha stuff, especially the Arknights. Spent a good long time on Arknights. That'll make people happy.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have anything else we want to talk about? That's itchy. Hold on.
Do we have anything really to talk about in tabletop?
I don't think so, because we told our stories about the last section we did last week. We're in a new adventure, unless you guys have any... Well, you guys. unless Lucky or possibly Axe in the Peanut Gallery, I think Loth has gone to his other game today, have anything they want to comment about it. I don't think we got anything big yet, because we just started a new arc. I think it's going pretty well. We're doing stuff. Definitely have ideas about how I'm going to start next session, next time, which will be soon.
I guess I can mention coming off of the previous arc with all the investigation stuff, I'm actually kind of happy to know that I feel like this is getting resolved a little bit faster. And partly
you guys definitely, what's the word I want to say? Maybe doubled down. Like, you definitely went in the direction that would get you the plot fastest, the quickest this time.
Yeah.
Like,
and we had a couple good rolls on player characters and NPC parts. We're like, yeah, no, those are a thing.
But this was definitely like, for my part, while there was obviously maybe some level of red herring, because obviously you guys know now that there are some things that can't be, some versions of this scenario which can't be true, because you found some stuff out. No spoilers if people haven't caught up with that latest episode. I know some people are behind. But yeah, you guys definitely, as characters and as players, went for let's figure out what exactly is happening here before we go herring off. And like I said, there'll be some complications, there'll be some interwoven things, you know? And you guys might touch on other subplots to do while you're working on how to deal with your main plot. But yeah, this definitely was like, obviously I ended it at a time that felt like an end, but yeah, there's definitely like a good moment in this first session where you guys are like, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to keep poking this, we're going to keep following this lead, just like you keep pulling on the rope, and then the rope comes to an end, and you're like, got it, found out what's at the end of the rope. And that all happened in one session for once.
Yeah.
And again, some of that was, like you said, you guys and even NPCs had some good on-point rolls. People were good at what they're good at, which is always good. Sometimes that doesn't happen with random number generation.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that went pretty smoothly, and I also appreciate that fact. I'm glad you guys are, well, at least lucky, but I feel like I didn't hear any complaints, so I hope the players are happy with the pace that was set. And we'll see about moving on through the stuff. And I'm sure as this gets closer and as you guys see more of it, we'll have more commentary on the overall plot line. Because I think you've remarked about how in character, and possibly out of character in a certain sense, in the good way, like, you're not happy about what's going on here. Like, there's stuff happening, and you're like, no, I don't like that. What's that? Spooky enemy ships doing weird things? I don't like that one bit. That sounds bad. That sounds like a thing's happening here. I don't like that.
Nope. I would say,
interesting stuff.
I guess the only other thing I can really comment is Arma has finally made it, quote unquote, back to being a Jedi General. Maybe considering maybe changing her mindset a little bit to reflect, especially if I get Inspiring Kill and Knowledge is Power. It's not a lot of them, but there are a few talents in Star Wars for a Jedi that if you just pick up the talent, you get automatic conflict. And Jedi General has 2 of them. Right,
honestly, I love that mechanic because it's so good, especially because conflict can be really finicky. Like, it's really easy to just not be an asshole and not generate conflict, which I appreciate, because on the other hand, yes, not everything should be a fucking KOTOR, ooh, dark side points, ooh, light side points, right? Like, you can just live your fucking life, but if you're actually trying to engage with the conflict system or the morality system, there are times when you can just snowball into being a good guy really fast, and it doesn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Cause, like, golly gee willikers, not starting fights with everybody you see and not murdering people is pretty easy. Like, and I know, obviously, like a lot of things, some of the conflict examples are built around the idea that you're playing Force and Destiny, where, like, you're on the run from the Empire, like, maybe you gotta do bad shit to survive. But honestly, your player character, if you have a decent amount of experience, you really don't, though, unless your GM's trying to fuck you over. And sometimes maybe not fuck you over, but your GM can deliberately place moral quandaries in your path, which I've done with a few things.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair to you guys, I think there are very few times when I offered you guys one of those weird moral choices where you've bit on the option that would be easier but sacrifice your morality.
Nah, we play good guys.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, that's one of those things of with Arma switching to general and maybe getting those free comments, because The two talents they're pretty wild, actually. I love them both.
Yeah.
One's Inspiring Kill. Basically, after I fucking inflict a crit or down a opponent, basically I take a maneuver and I just fucking heal strain, like depending on how many allies are nearby, and it's just like whoa. With me having the strain train going at all times, it's great. The other one is one that makes me go, "This is dangerous. This is fucking dangerous."
Yeah,
it's called Knowledge is Power. Basically, once a session, I can literally just increase my force rating by ranks in Knowledge Warfare, which caps out at 5. And I actually asked this Omega, it's like, "Hey Omega, does force rating have an actual cap?" And he's like,
"Not as far as I know, no. I believe there are some NPCs who are like FR 6 or 7.
So it's just like, yeah, for one turn, sure, I could just go to maybe like force rating 10, because by this point I'll probably have picked up the force rating in general, and especially since I have to invest.
And it's an interesting, because I'm pretty sure the idea with Knowledge is Power is like you are figuring out how to master the Force through basically militant means. Like, you are using your tactical and strategic knowledge to do the Force stuff, which is kind of weird and bad, which is why it's a conflict talent, but it's really powerful. It's interesting that, like, Inspiring Kill is, I think, based on a similar talent that you can get in other trees called Terrifying Kill, which is also a conflict talent, which scares the shit out of your enemies when you kill somebody, when you take down an enemy. Inspiring is like it's still positive, right? Because you're like, oh no, you are defeating enemies in such a dramatic way that your allies are inspired. But it's still about taking down people, right? Which is why it's conflict talent. It requires you to fight and do violence to an enemy, or inflict critical injuries. Like, you have to actually hurt some people to do it. But yeah, still, it's really interesting, and I like how they did that. Like, honestly, most talent trees, honestly, Glory Kills are probably Terrifying Kills, Axe.
Yeah.
Inspiring is like when the 12-foot giant man, goes to take your head off with his axe, you like run up his back while the Shadow of the Colossus music plays and you take him down. And you stand victorious at the top doing like a He-Man type pose. You have the power. I made like 4 different references in there. Anyway, but yeah, like most, especially early on, most talent trees that have conflict talents usually have like 1, a couple have 2. I like that General is one of those with 2, where it's like, yeah, no, this is kind of part of the reason why the Jedi lost their way in this era, because their mindset and their ethos is not built around being soldiers, so being a soldier is rough. Like, you don't necessarily have to go bad, but it's definitely like weighing on you that you have this knowledge and you are applying it.
And that's one of the things I kind of want to convey about Arma, is as much as she is trying to, do goo, I kind of want to be in a position where she has to slowly start making harder and harder decisions, about said stuff. Like maybe because, maybe she has to maybe put more clones on the field and maybe get them killed, even though that's exactly what she doesn't want to do. Because actually, it's actually interesting. I was reading description and stuff in general and stuff, and the 3 things that a Jedi general is supposed to protect is, first, the people, second, the Republic, and third, the soldiers. I'm just like, but what if I put the soldiers up higher? I'm just like, This is a lot of things I've been wondering about with like characters and stuff, because again, like we're coming up on the point where this is our longest running Star Wars campaign. I don't even know if it's our longest running campaign ever.
Probably not, because even the parts you were there for with Metahuman Renaissance were long, but you joined at like I think the halfway point of that. So
yeah,
like,
we still went on for long.
That took us forever.
Yeah, but so I'm trying to do like the, I don't know, the character arc change with Arma, and I'm trying like I said, this is one of the things about like I'm trying to get the RP in of because in the last episode is actually, I think it was a really great scene personally. Here, wait, is it up yet? I know I uploaded it.
Oh yeah, no, I posted it already.
Okay, cool. I can't talk.
Keep the backlog low. Yeah, you can talk about it.
Okay, cool. Basically, at one point, we know there's something out of phone going bumping, and I were like, okay, cool, let's spread out. let's see if we can find anything. We'll go like look for some clues. All right. Basically, while we're like trying like, oh, let's help these poor like country folk. Only they're not really called poor country folk. Arma literally is like, what the fuck is that up in the sky? And fucking bombers had gone over. She didn't know they were bombers at the time, but it's all like, what the fuck is that? And then later, over the like 90 minutes later, over the fucking radio, we hear the Clone Boys saying like, "There's something happening." Oh god, it's like danger close, motherfuckers! And we're all like, and we just see the fucking boom, and we're just like, oh no! And everyone, we just jet over to like what the fuck's happening? And Arma, has as people may know who watch the APs, has this thing about fire, and she has to. And she's like, we have to get this fire out like immediately. And through a weird idea and a very good axe roll, we were able to do that. But the scene kind of ends with just Arma sitting in a rocking chair, just looking at the fucking this wreckage and being like, something has to be done. And that, like, I don't know if the way I described it in Nesakana, but Arma is definitely like, what's the word I want to say here is trying to put a sense of, what's the word, intensity on it. Mm-hmm. And trying to find the best way to, like, that's one of those things I've been thinking about, and is the best way to actually portray that without actually just going, all right, burn everything to the ground. I'm like, wait, no, that's bad. That's not how we do. I don't know. I'm just rambling about fucking tabletop now.
There's thoughts and stuff in there, and it's always interesting because, well, you are the character that is kind of pre-equipped with the backstory. I mean, obviously, clones have stories too, but they tend to be similar. And Wevu has a backstory. She has interests, but I don't know, because she kind of joined the story late. I don't know how directly tied in some of that stuff can be, especially not without being weird. Because I know that like she has her own personal goals and answers that Marth kind of baked into her backstory, but like I said, I don't know without being like too clumsily like, for some reason on Sohaliv your long-lost relative comes up, right? Like, I don't know if I can necessarily make that too closely tied in, so it's the way we have with the characters, it's definitely easier for Arama to build up this kind of backstory weight. And like build up that momentum and actually kind of have that push to have interesting interactions. Like, I can challenge Camo or Boots as characters, but a lot of that has to do with their current selves, their motivations as they are now and as they have appeared in the story, which is not bad, by the way. That's like, especially with certain player characters, that's a perfectly valid thing. Like, for Boots, it's really easy to get Boots interested and even to have Boots kind of freak out, for lack of a better word, like have an intense reaction to just having people, especially clones, be injured or in danger. Yes. Like, Boots' motivation is family, his duty is personnel, he is a medic. Like, he started as a grunt, but now he is absolutely fell into the squad medic, right? So, like, yeah, it's really easy to basically push his buttons and get characterization out. But when you don't push those buttons, characterization doesn't necessarily just happen. And a lot of it defaults to Loth's default characterization of just being sassy. Sassy pants. He knows this.
Sassy pants.
I don't really... Camo's interesting, because the way Camo is portrayed by Axe and how Camo is set up is... His big thing is mission. He's very mission-oriented, very goal-oriented. He likes to ask for mission clarification. If he doesn't get, like, outside of mission parameters, obviously some of this is Axe, isn't thinking in 4 dimensions because he's not a real-life military commando or whatever, but I think it works for the characterization. When we don't make sure to give Camo extra parameters on the mission, he sometimes forgets stuff that you don't tell him. Like, he's like, oh, well, you didn't bring that up, so I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
I didn't do it. It wasn't included in my orders. Like he's very methodical, and he likes to do his due diligence, but sometimes if stuff doesn't come up, he's just like, oh, that wasn't in my mission profile. Whoops.
Whoopsie.
So, like, it's interesting, like, thinking about how do I, quote-unquote, challenge Camo for immediate characterization? Well, the easiest way is just, I put obstacles in the mission, because then he'll engage with them, because he wants to, like, Axe as a player and Camo as a character is like, I feel like our goal is to do the thing, I want to do the thing, get these guys out of my way. I'm trying to work here, kind of. Like, and that some of that plays off Axe's natural impatience. Don't you sass me, Axe. You are. You are the guy who is like, oh, there's faffery going on. All right, so let's move on to the thing. And I'm like, whoa. You're trying to kill the scene. The action hasn't petered out yet. Sometimes we need to herd cats, but sometimes you come on a little strong. And definitely I will admit the herding cats bit. There are times when you got to be like, okay, guys, all right, everybody, listen up, gather up. Just relax about the clock. It's fine. We work with what we work with. The goal is to not stress, not to stress about the time. Everything's got to be natural. That's why, like, I'll end sessions that are short, like, right away when I'm like, that's a really good point to end. And other times it'll be like, we don't have a good point to end. Guess we're going for 5 hours tonight, boys. We're going to get this done kind of a thing. And, like, definitely I appreciate the work Martha's done into making Wevu and, like, definitely giving her a concrete backstory and concrete motivations. It hasn't happened a lot yet, but Wevu definitely has, for lack of a better word, triggers to, like, she will engage. Like, we've already seen that in the little bit she's been on screen where, like, oh, yeah, no. Like, when stuff is happening, she is into it and, like, follows through. It's good work. Good work. So, yeah, like, but sometimes it can be a little, it can be harder to get some of that pushback because a lot of that's in the moment. With Arama, we've clearly established a backstory you and me anyway, have privately established her backstory. Some of it's come out in play, but most of that's just between you and me right now. And, like, I would even say there are bits I have built up that will link into your backstory that you don't even know about yet because they haven't come back up.
Well, like I said, I'm like, this is how I think this is the best way to make backstories usually time is give the GM an idea, but don't write down an excessive amount of detail.
Honestly, that's what I did in our D&D campaign. I was like, I talked about my decisions. I was like, okay, so I'm going to play a Dark Elf Paladin, and then I kind of thought about, like, the setting and how I wanted to do it, and I was like, okay, so with the way I've got my character, she's very personable, but she's kind of dumb. I've talked about this before, even though my Paladin has, like, 8 int, -1 modifier, I think the way I usually portray her is that Valanth she's not an idiot, just she's not like an ADD, but kind of like that, where just book learning isn't for her. Like, there's a lot of stuff that people try to just cram into her brain, it doesn't work. That's not how she learns. So, she isn't great at, like, remembering lots of, like, rote memorization details or, like, a lot of little things. Like, the skills she's bad at are the int ones, so it's like, I remember what is in my religious order, but we didn't. Fun fact: when I was, when I was taught by a militant paladin order, we didn't really talk about other faiths too much. It's weird, And Vesper, our DM, is usually very nice about letting me, if it's a relevant question to my own backstory, letting me just have it rather than rolling.
Yeah.
Which is good because I would be bad at some rolls.
Oh yeah.
But, like, I came up with that idea and I was like, oh, so I've got a lot of personal skills, and, like, I'm like, okay. Drow are usually matriarchal. Let's say my character, who is a lady paladin, was like, she was gonna, like, head her family. By the way, Axes are slight character spoilers, so I don't know if you can keep this, whatever. Nobody's actually asked me about this yet, so I don't know if people know this, but it was written in my backstory for a long time. But, like, she was clocked to be the next head of this, like, mercantile family, right? And take over. But, again, like I said, facts, figures, not her strong suit. Also, her family has kind of a strong arcane bent. Not good at that either. I have an 8 int. I'm not an arcane caster, so she got kind of sidelined for the non-traditional pick of her older brother. So there's some. We've met him in story, so, like, we've had some stuff there. But that was all I did was, like, okay, she's got an older brother. She has a family. They have many. She has this kind of weird complex about casters, basically, about int-based casters, especially. Like, people who were able to go to school and figure all this stuff out and whatnot. And I think it's funny. I think my in-character resentment of our one int caster, the Artificer, has actually waned because, unfortunately, if Alep's listening, shout out to you, buddy. His luck is awful. I think he rolled nat 1s with Firebolt, which is a good cantrip, like, several times. He's done min damage. He has whiffed, even though he's got a +1 sword because he's an Artificer. Right, like, a lot. Like, so he's had a bad run of luck, so I think as a character, Valanth is going like, okay, so maybe just because you studied books doesn't mean that you're an asshole. Like, bad stuff can happen to everybody, kind of thing. But it's interesting to kind of build that complex, and even though, obviously, I assume it's because I had a backstory, so obviously the DM was like, well, I'm going to work it in. Also, yes, as Axe pointed out, he has had terrible luck with HP rolls, which I feel. I bought a feat specifically to get some more HP points, because, man, oof. I was oofed real hard. I'm the paladin, I think at level 4, I still have, under 40 HP. Whereas our barbarian is run by Dallas, which means he either rolls awful or amazing. There is no in between with Dallas, one of our moderators. So he's got 70, 80 HP at level 4, something like that. He is incredibly swollen and meat chilly.
Jesus.
Yeah, no, he's a big boy. Thraxius is a big lad. Is it only 50 something? I feel like it's higher. Maybe I caught up more. He might have also had some temporary hit points. Barbarians are also ludicrously spongy though, because they get certain damage resistances with rage. I feel like it was a 60-ish. Dallas is playing WoW right now. He's not around. But yeah, so I gave Vesper the rough outline. We talked about what city I was from and what stuff, and then was I think Vesper asked me, do you have any names in mind for your family members, or should I just go? And I was like, nah. Nah, just go. I was thinking about, well, in real life, you don't really get to pick your family, so just, I'll have I trust our DM to work with what I wrote, and I know for sure, and then we can work out the rest, and I think it's worked out so far. And that's kind of the same way I'm treating Arama's backstory. Some of the stuff you set in stone, so I won't fuck with it, and other stuff I'm like, okay, well, I can work in this detail, and when it comes up, it'll come up, and I think I can safely introduce it and here's something you remember, or here's something you recall, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or just, maybe it's stuff you didn't know until now, kind of a thing. But it lets me do the workaround, and actually Axe talked about this too. The clone characterization is interesting. You can have backstory, but on some level, a decent chunk of your backstory will be the same as literally every other clone.
Yeah.
So, it's... Obviously, you can find characterization, and our players have. Camo and Boots are very different clones, in a lot of ways. Not just in, skill set and stuff, but, how they handle the war, orders, behaviors, mission specs. They're different people, but, you might think that players would take that clone thing a little too directly and try and be similar, but they're really not. They still only had limited stuff to work with. And I'll be interested to see how much more stuff comes out and what other interesting challenges happen. Because, like I said, I do want to see if I can occasionally squeak out more direct characterization from the other characters. Because, like we've said, Arma, you put a decent amount of effort into her backstory. You've portrayed her pretty consistently. Obviously, we've had some, refocuses. Like you said, she's got some arcs. I think it's fair to say that, when you transition a general, right, that's opening up a new character arc, and there was basically a middle period, the period when you were like, why am I performer? I'm going to drop performer, and then into, picking up shit like martial artist and steel hand adept. Where you, developed in a different direction, where kind of Arama had to get her groove back, basically. And now that kind of as a character, and both as in a mechanical and a narrative sense, she has established herself, Arama... I would say it's fair to say... Do you think it's fair to say that Arama has found herself, basically? She knows who she is now?
Yeah, I can say that, yeah.
Yeah. That I think has been a heftily built up as you've kind of advanced down these talent trees and, both mechanically and narratively figured out. So now it's time for her to be okay, I'm me, I can sort this stuff out, I've got to, step up and take charge now, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Which you talked about as kind of the direction you've been going when picking up General, was okay. Because that was actually a question, you were should I pick up this setup next, or should I do General? And after some debate, you were yeah, no, I'm gonna pick up General. I'm gonna go into this as my next step as a character.
Yes.
And it'll be kind of interesting to see how all that shakes out. Alright. Okay, we waxed on that one for about 30 minutes. Do we have anything else? Any other stuffs going on you particularly feel like talking about, Lucky?
I really haven't got anything.
Alright, fair enough. Let's see, is there anything else I want to touch on? No, there was a new episode of Mandalorian. It was shorter. If you have arachnophobia, don't watch it. Otherwise, it was cool. I appreciate it was shorter. It was much easier to watch yesterday right away. The pilot was 58 minutes. This one was 36, I think. I'm not really doing anything else. I mean, so don't take this any way too particularly strongly, I'll say. I have felt with the recent ruckus, I'm man, I kind of want to rewatch all of West Wing again. Just because that's my gosh, what if politics were cool, basically.
Yeah, I can understand that.
But I would say don't take that as a direct statement on my part. I don't necessarily agree 100% with the politics in West Wing. However, I do feel God, I wish politics were like that. where everybody tries to be good all the time. Jeez, that'd be a trip. Yeah, after 2 hours of this, I don't feel like waxing particularly poetic or vitriolic about the Electoral College right now, other than that it is and continues to be kind of a dumb thing, and we should probably fix it sometime, but I don't know if we will ever. Yeah, no, I think that's...
Oh, you could talk about Sentinels and Multiverse.
Oh, I could, I suppose. I did do that as a stream. That was my, because actually that kind of does springboard, because that's what I did, because I was saddled with the slight burden of having to do a stream on election day, on election night, and I was like, okay, this is going to be a little weird. It's going to be a little awkward. What do I want to do? I thought, do I want to do Among Us? But I was like, that might be I could make jokes about the reality of democracy and stuff, but I was like, especially as I knew we were going to be in it for the long haul, right? I was like, maybe this is a little too soon. Maybe this is a little too spicy to be like, democracy. I wanted to do Call to Power 2, like I said, but I couldn't troubleshoot it fast enough, because I wanted to be like, fuck it, let's make a new civilization kind of a thing, right? But that didn't work out. So I went with the TTS version of a game I like a lot. I've bought the Steam version, so don't at me. Sentinels of the Multiverse. It is a cooperative, what would be I guess just general cooperative card game about superheroes. It's one of those games where basically there's AI decks, like the villain and the environment play themselves. And we had a little bit of futzing around with the rules. Like, I think I forgot to play villains as regularly as I should for some of those games, but even then, we still had some stuff going back and forth. But it's pretty fun. You can have, I think it's 2 to 5 players. You pick a villain. The TTS mod has these handy charts to let you know how complex everybody is. And basically, you each pick a superhero. Some superheroes have different versions, they have different powers. You play against a villain. Villains all have their own unique mechanics. Like, some are team-ups. My computer actually, I think for the first time ever, hard crashed. I got a version of a blue screen. It gives you a little frowny face, in case you guys didn't know.
Oh, no, frowny faces.
And I had to restart, so that ended the stream. Well, it didn't end the stream, but it ended the stream, because YouTube was kept on trucking. Even though I was gone, YouTube stayed going, but that, oddly enough, I think basically blew up the TTS server, so everybody got kicked out, so we did not finish that game, but the final game we played was against a villain called the Ennead, who are a collection of evil Egyptian gods, because they are a nemesis of one of the superheroes you can play, who is just Ra. But, like, they have a series of villains that they'll actually, like, pull out of their shrine and awaken. You gotta fight. Some enemies, like, have different weird mechanics, but you all play in kind of a turn order. The villain goes first, they set up their evil plans, you guys react to them in different sequences. And depending on what heroes you're playing, you're doing different stuff. Like, in the last game I was playing, Legacy, who is kind of they've got a decent amount of backstory, and I think they even got some tie-in comics. Like, they've built up all the universe of all these people. Legacy is basically, like, he's the setting Superman. It's like Captain America vibes as well, but also got some other stuff going on. He's called Legacy because Legacy's line actually inherits superpowers, so the next Legacy always has a new superpower in addition to all the previous Legacy superpowers.
Oh, crazy.
Which actually, like, you can do interesting stuff with all the different versions of Legacy, and then you can have different powers in game to, like, switch stuff up. But Legacy is kind of a classical tank. Like, they can heal others, they can increase others' damage, they can pin villains down so they can't hurt other people, but also they have just some big Superman-style punches, like, just deal a shitload of damage to one guy in particular. Boom. Like, just drop an enemy mook or something, you know? So you have some that are supports, you have some that are good about generating card advantage, you have some characters who kind of, like, burn themselves, either their life or their own card advantage, to do weird shit. In a different game I played Tachyon, who is a speedster. So Tachyon is all about hurting herself to literally get more plays, to draw more cards, to do more stuff. Like, very bursty. I like her. I like Tachyon a lot. Especially if you want to play a character who draws a lot of cards and gets to play a lot of cards. So, like, each different hero deck has different, like, focuses, different specializations. There's one character who's, Wraith, for instance, is just Batman, but a girl. And, like, she actually is, like, all about, like, she doesn't have a lot of big superpowers. Like, I think the version I played of her, was it in our test game? I think it was in our test game, was her base power was called Sleuth. Like, her only power, quote-unquote, is detecting. You look at, like, the top card of a villain deck and figure out if you want to keep it or not, or something. And all of her other stuff comes through acquiring and playing gadgets. And there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. You can play. There's alternate timelines where you can play different characters who are like, you can play villains who are good. You can fight against good guys who are now villains in this timeline. Got a lot of interesting stuff going on. I like it a lot. There's a standalone Steam version, but it's a little involved because it's, the fully automated version. It's kind of like playing the Dresden Files cooperative card game Steam version.
Mm-hmm.
It's good, but it's not quite the same,
Yeah.
Honestly, for purposes of streaming or just casual play with people, playing it on TTS is a lot easier because you can just, go with the flow, talk through everybody, play it out. And it's a lot of fun. I like supers as a genre, as evidenced by the fact that I talked about Metahuman Renaissance. My Wild Talents game was probably our home group's biggest running campaign. Honestly, probably why I haven't gone back to Wild Talents in a long time. I like WT. I have ideas for other game designs. I'd love to do something with the Metahuman Renaissance timeline now that it's real life 2020. But I've also done a lot of work with it, so it's not. I'm like, nah, I got a lot of satisfaction though. I got a lot out of it. But I also like this style of cooperative card games, right? Where okay, you're playing a guy, I'm playing a guy, we do different stuff. The villain plays itself basically, so we don't have to worry about somebody being the bad guy, and we can actually kind of come together, cooperate. There was still some yelling and screaming in the stream, because there were some people, not just you, Ax will feel like he's being attacked personally, but it's not just him. There were different moments where different of us were, not able to do things, or didn't know what they should do, kind of learning new characters. People would pick overcomplicated characters, and or just moments where we were in a bad way, and it was well, somebody's got to take a hit here, right? Who should it be, kind of a thing. That rational math we're talking about, where there's still decisions to be made, there's still some kind of inter-party spice, but that's superheroes too. When do superheroes get along all the time?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fun game, and I'd like to play it again. Maybe on stream, maybe not, maybe just with some casuals. If you're free, Lucky, I would not mind getting you in on a game. You could probably.
I definitely want to give it a try. It sounds fun. I'm always down for.
Let me actually check how that stream went. We didn't have a lot of live viewers, but I suspect that's because people were paying attention to something else. No, it did pretty good. Got over 100 views. Did better than my last Vampire stream, that's for sure. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to go into it next week. I think I've talked about this, especially because we've done some back and forth. I'm pretty sure Tuesday, if I exist still, or if my internet exists, I should say, I'll probably still exist. Knock on wood. But I think because Among Us had an update recently that adds a couple of new interesting features, I want to do another Among Us stream just because, yeah, it's popular, it had a new update, and yes, I'm riding the wave. But also I want to try out new stuff, and it's honestly really easy to, having done a couple of Among Us streams, it's really easy to stream too. Obviously there's some finicky bits, making sure to cover the room code and stuff, but it's pretty easy for me to play and play it while chatting to the audience.
Yeah.
And even when I'm dead and have these convos. And maybe get a little spicy, maybe I'll do some I'll do like I did with that last one, that Surprise Thursday one, and be like, alright, well, we're all done with Among Us, we're gonna wind down with something else, play some card games, or maybe even play Sentinels or something, but I want to do some Among Us. That is not just because I'm thirsty for views, guys. While we are, because YouTube has been a little weird with us lately, we're bringing back, though. I don't know what it was. I think maybe it was just the FGO news slump. But our sub count actually started to not just slow, but actually go down a little.
Oh no!
I assume that was probably just cutting out spam or old accounts. But the moment I posted that new FGO news desk, we shot back up and we're way back in the positive again.
Oh, okay, that's good. That's good.
We're doing fine. It was just there was a little bit of low period where FGO wasn't doing a lot of news, so we weren't drawing a lot of energy. We had some weird stuff with monetization and ads on some of our other videos. But I feel like we've kind of even keeled a little bit. Secondary videos are still a little weird, but I don't know. We'll continue to figure out stuff. And I've tried not to go ham on my new ideas and stuff either. What I need to do is I need to figure out how to get even better at thumbnails. I need to get more weird and wacky, more eye-catching. I think, obviously, while my quote-unquote lo-fi thumbnails have a certain style, I think between the two of us, we've got FGO thumbnails down. Those are pretty easy to work out.
Oh, yeah.
Need a little more spice on some other stuff. But, yeah, I think that's everything. Well, actually, I don't think I mentioned about the new Among Us updates. I should, if people haven't heard of them. I can get Lucky's thoughts on these features, because I don't think I've talked with him about it. So, one of the features they added, anonymous voting.
Oh.
You can turn on anonymous voting, so it makes everybody show up as dark gray. You have no idea who voted for whom. So you don't know who skips. You don't know who votes for who. I've seen it in practice. If you all talk about who you're voting for anyway, it doesn't do anything. But like, it definitely offers the option for some sneaky plays. Because that is usually, I will say that's one of the ways I get imposters, if people skip at weird times. Or if you see people mysteriously double up on voting, you're like, all right, that was weird.
Yeah.
So Anonymous can kind of take that out. The second major update was they did some stuff with the taskbar. They made it so you can set the taskbar to only update when you get a meeting. So, like, you don't know where you're at in terms of tasks until you call an emergency meeting or a body gets found.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can make it so the taskbar never updates. You never know when you're close to finishing.
Wow.
Which is really interesting. I'm not sure who that mechanic benefits the most, right? Because, like, on the one hand, as the players, because you don't know your progress, I would argue that motivates you to keep doing tasks because you don't know how the others are doing, right? But also as the imposter, if you don't know where you're at, one, that can make it easier for you to lose on tasks, but also it means you have less stress. Because I know that definitely gets some imposters when they realize they don't have a lot of time left on the tasks, so they panic.
Yeah.
In general, doing either of these features is good for imposters, though, because it means they can fake tasks without getting caught, basically.
Yes.
Because if you don't have to wait for the taskbar to go up, because it won't go up. So I want to definitely play around with both of those. There was also a relatively small update, but one that I think that is good is for wires, they have added symbols now, so if you have issues with color blindness, it's easier to tell the wires apart.
Yeah, I get that.
Which is not a big deal, but I think it's good that they did. Also, honestly, while obviously that is good for accessibility and colorblind people, I also have had shitty monitors in my time. It's entirely possible that sometimes those colors can get a little washed out and weird.
Yeah.
So the symbols help. But the thing is interesting. Oh, actually, and they did another thing that is good for the imposters. On the Mira HQ map, they made it so if you sabotage comms, the door log gets cleared out. It gets erased.
Oh, okay.
Which means that you can, if you think people are going to get sus about your door logs, you can do the comm sabotage and like prevent detective bullshit. I don't know if that'll make Mira more popular. Mira is a very controversial map. Like, okay, a lot of people like the first one, Christ, I'm forgetting what the name of the spaceship is. It starts with an S.
I can't think of it.
Nah, I don't got it right now. I'm lost. We're basically winding down the show. I won't wax on it too long. Skeld. There it is. Thank you. Like, a lot of people like Skeld because it's got that big, like, ring-shaped formation. It's pretty compact. It's easy to do games in. I'm a big fan of Polis because Polis is the opposite. It's fucking huge. It's got a lot of corners and shadows you can hide in. You can do a lot of your work there. Mira is interesting because it's shaped like a trident, basically. Like, it's got 3 different forks, which are all dead ends. And you can get around with vents, but it can make it very easy for you to get caught venting. However, if people don't go to those dead ends, you can get away with some kills for a long time. Like, if you drop somebody in storage or balcony, and nobody has to go to the cafeteria, those bodies can linger for a long fucking time. Same with Reactor. If you get somebody in Reactor when you're alone and they don't know you're in Reactor and you just get the fuck out, nobody will have any idea who was in with you because it's the decon there is such a long process. So I feel like Mira has some of the fastest catches of imposters. Like, if you get an imposter, you've got him, right? It's really easy to be like, all right, well, somebody is looking at my dead corpse and like, well, I saw Lucky and Omega go into Reactor, and Lucky's not here, and Omega's corpse is here. It's probably Lucky.
Probably.
True story. But I like it because it's got some interesting things going on. But yeah, I'm also very interested. They talked about how they're working on their next map. I believe they said it might be bigger than Polis.
Ooh.
It will be Henry Stickmin themed. Not a lot of people know that series, but that's a collection of, like, I think it started as old-ass Flash games. Markiplier's done some playthroughs, which are pretty funny. But that's the same dev crew who does Among Us, interestingly enough. Look them up if you haven't. I think they've got, like, a quote-unquote legacy collection on Steam. Actually, let me pull that up. Is that on my wish list? Yeah, they're very funny comedic games, but it'll be interesting to see what they're doing to be themed, because these you may have heard of them by their names, like Steal the Airship, Steal the Diamond, Escape the Jail, Escape the Complex kind of thing. Like, they usually have that name. So, like, I'm kind of curious, because those Flash games usually have those sorts of weird big settings.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious what will be actually inspired to make this. Ooh, Henry Stickmin Collection is only $15. Collects escaping the prison, stealing a diamond, breaking the bank, infiltrating the airship, and freeing the complex, plus a final legacy game. Seems pretty cool. I'm going to put it on my wish list. So, like, I think there's a lot of interesting options they could do with that. And I just love the idea of them doing another big map that's bigger than Polis, right?
Mm.
Like, because a lot of people like Polis. Like, some people don't like it because it's so huge, but it's... Guys, let's be real. Everybody has to have the possibility to win. So...
Oh, yeah.
The imposters need to be able to get away with shit, otherwise they're just going to get caught and the round's going to be over. I know some people have fun doing their tasks and just doing their minigames and going about their business, and like, yeah, I can get it. It can get a little frustrating that it's so huge and it's hard to walk around, but the game is it's about solving your mundane tasks while trying to catch a killer, or not get killed, at least. So I both as an imposter and as crewmate, I like that it's got those wide open spaces. I like that it's got some mystery. I do like that I think Polis has the most comprehensive security system, because you've got cams, you've got vitals, and you've got the admin table. So you can tell when people are in an area, you can tell when people are alive or dead, which can be a double... Vitals has often been a double-edged sword. Like, there are times when I'm like, ah, shit, 2 people are dead. They've literally just died. I'm going to call a meeting. But otherwise, it's like, let's not call a meeting, because I don't know where the corpses are. But security is separate from those, so if you want to watch cams, you can't also, like, peek vitals, etc. Like, you gotta walk around. I think it's got the best door lock mechanic, because, I gotta be honest, I hate doors unscaled. I hate it. I hate the timer. Like, both as an imposter and crewmate, I hate that I can get locked in a room because somebody's not even looking at me. They're not even really trying to stop me. They're just being an animal, and just, you can't get out. You gotta wait for 30 seconds. Like, at least with Polis, you can open the doors.
Quick switch. Flip, flip, flip.
And yes, as imposter, I have shut the door on myself and had to open them myself. Probably a bad thing, but you know what? It's still... It's still got stuff. It's fun. I think it's... I feel like Polis is the map that is the best balanced out of all of them. And who knows? Maybe other people like Skeld so much because they play at lower visibilities. I do not like playing the game, and I've heard from people that they don't like playing the game at lower than 0.75 visibility. Like, half visibility is really half. Like, literally, you can't see half the screen. And yes, that lets imposters get away with shit, but it's also like, I can't see where the fuck I'm going and what I'm doing. That said, I don't know, people complain about the lights, and they're like, light isn't that bad. So, I don't know. Anyway, that was our Among Us chat.
Yeah. And by Among Us chat, I mean Omega Talk.
Well, yeah, because I knew about the update.
Yeah.
You talked about the features. You have thoughts?
I have thoughts. I have feelings.
But I think, like we said, we're out of topics. I managed to make that go for another, 15, 20 minutes. Let's wrap up so I can go do other stuff. Like, work on that Genshin story I was talking about. Okay. So, it's time for the wrap-up. And, basically, what we're going to say first is, remember to like this video if you liked it when you're watching it on YouTube. If you have any comments, be sure to leave them in the comments below. You can also hit us up on our Discord. That link is in the video description and on our channel page, as always. And, of course, if you're new here and haven't already, please subscribe to our channel so you can always get our latest videos. And even if you're already subscribed, consider hitting that bell for notifications so you always know exactly when we post a new video, or when we stream, or when we do stuff like that. Notifications are good. The bell is good. And you can also join our channel membership. Join button below or in the description. It's a good way to support us, even when YouTube's ad rev is being weird. And, yeah, that was notifications, memberships. So I think the only thing left to remind everybody is to say that you should also consider supporting us on Patreon. Just like I said at the front of the show, you can get access to episodes in audio format early for as little as $1 a month or $10 a year. And it's a really great way to support us. You can get access to new polls. We got some new content polls for Let's Talk FGO going up this month. And in general, once again, that's a lot more consistent and better monetization than YouTube gives us. Like, I appreciate what YouTube does, but sometimes it's a little chaotic. So, Patreon's a really good way if you just like what we do and you want to make sure we can keep doing it, throw us a couple bucks. We appreciate it. So, I think that'll be what's up for this week. We'll be sure to talk about more things. Lucky will probably have his own Civ VI thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm sure... I'm sure you'll have crawled in the hole.
I'm in the hole right now.
Yeah. So we'll hear more about that. Probably hear some other stuff. And we'll be back with that. Also, don't forget to check out Let's Talk FGO if you haven't already. And any of the other stuff we do. See you next week. Goodbye, everybody.